welcome to CGL. Today we have a giant, huge tournament for you all. Apex Legends June Major coming to its final end. $500 prize pool to be won by the players. Joined with me is Dragonite. How you doing today?
Llama, it's a good day, man. We've got CGL, and every day we have a CGL show is always a good day. But it's coupled with my current favorite game franchise. I get to join you for my debut with you for Apex. This is our first time teaming up together. The teams are ready. It's shaping up to be a good day, dude.
Oh yeah, I am super excited. So we have EU right now going on, and then later, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have NA coming in. $250 for each region. Are you super excited? Are you ready to see these teams go at it?
I certainly am. I'm glad we're going back to World's Edge. I really, as a console player, I have migrated between PC and console, and it's really great to see CGL always give that love to the console team. Kind of the platform I wished I would have had when I was in my competing days, and so it's really cool to see someone kind of shape up the community in that regard. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, we love bringing some love to the console community. Sometimes controller players don't get always the best, but G2 just signed a whole controller team, so maybe getting some more notice from there. But I'm super excited today. Like you said, going back on World's Edge, a fun map. Are you any teams you're looking out for today?
I just was part of the DreamHack 10K, and there was a team that stood out to me here. I'm going to double check. The player's name was Shifty Taken. I believe Legancho is the team. They placed 17th in the top 20, if I'm not mistaken here. And that player also broke, I think, the top 20 in the DreamHack tournament, and I believe qualified for the 10K. So they played in an
Okay.
open pool for a $500 prize, and I believe that player has moved forward. Or that team rather has moved forward. So I'm a little less familiar with the EU region. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty inundated in North America, and I think that's a really good opportunity because we're going to see a lot of skill showcase here today, and I'm going to get to be a fan of some smaller Twitch streams. I think I'm going to be in and out of some streams after this.
Yeah, it should be super fun. Yeah, like you said, EU. I'm usually NA also, so not not too familiar with any of the teams, but it'll be a great experience to see all these EU teams really competing for everything. Anything like meta changes we should look for. Any like super powerful power picks that a team might pick that could win or lose them this tournament.
Watching NA versus EU, I'm seeing a lot of things where NA is particularly capable in terms of gun skill, right? This player
Hmm.
does this and they're able to engage here and so on and so forth. But what I see from the European teams is often a lot of rotational ability. So we see a lot of Valkyries. We even see some Lobas that we wouldn't see in places of like an Octane. And so, in fact, we even see Scars, right? The technically an European team owned by a Japanese team.
Hmm.
We see a lot of Loba play from them. And we may see that here in EU as opposed to a lot of the meta legends like you would see in Octane, or you would still see a Wraith rotate around sometimes. So I think we may get to see a little bit of a meta shakeup. I think your Gibby, your Bloodhound may still be particularly relevant. I mean, everybody loves the dome and you got to have the wall hacks, right? But I think there could be some meta redefining things that we're not yet ready for.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you said, the Gibby pretty much needed, for those final circles, though that artificial cover can't really be created by anyone else. And having that Bloodhound, just the knowledge of where your enemies are at every moment is huge and can actually change a fight so much. But like you said, Valkyrie seen a lot more. Maybe not in Octane. We see Octane a lot in NA with those really aggressive teams that won't just want to squad wipe super fast. But these teams are more focused on getting to ring, holding it, getting that placement points, and then holding it out.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping we don't see, fingers crossed here, but I'm hoping we avoid some of those caustics, right? I mean, they
Yes.
changed a little bit about the barrels. They changed the slowdown. I am curious to see a lot of EU teams as well using crypto. You pretty much only see tech usually use crypto here in the United States, or the NA
Hmm.
rather. He's kind of been the thorn in the side of a lot of Gibraltar teams. And Gibraltar's a tough call because I personally play a lot of Gibby myself when I play ranked, but that dome can be really skillfully used, but is also sometimes a crutch, right?
Yeah.
And so that crypto coming in late game, if you've got a Gibraltar on your side, your crypto ults, and then you throw your dome, I mean, that's it. You won. You got your
Yeah.
crypto to late game. That's pretty much it. So curious to see if that's going to come into play as well, given the discrepancies between EU and North America.
Yeah, and it also takes out like crypto, or sorry, it takes out caustic traps, Watson traps. It takes out a lot of things, and it hurts them by 50 shield too. So like it puts them at such a huge disadvantage. They lose that bubble. like you said, so we'll see if a crypto is played. That'll be really interesting, really good for late rings. Um, but we will see what the players do for this one. I am super, super excited to get into it.
Me too.
Our teams, our top 20 that we are going to be seeing today. Who will take the money? We don't know. It could be anybody's game. All these teams have earned their slot. So we do have some duos. Pretty interesting. I believe at the bottom. No, actually, it's a lot of underscores. Sorry, looked like it was a duo to me. But yeah, all these teams. The top three obviously going to be some of the teams we should look out for, but could be definitely anybody's game here. What are you thinking about?
You know, I'm really curious to see again. One of the things that we see a lot with the North America again versus Europe is we see a lot of North American teams in the center, or excuse me, on the outside of the zones rather. You see a
Hmm.
lot of people. We're going to walk it in. In fact, you hear that call out all the time in ALGS and GLO. Let's walk it in. Let's walk it in. Zones pulling. Let's look at these 7 other teams that are next to us. We're in zone 7 and we're all at tree, and there's still 18 teams left. What we see a lot from North America is the edge camping moving inwards. And what we see a lot from EU is a lot of zone camping with beacon scans and things like that ahead of time. They prefer to rotate early and then fight outwards. So you're going to see a lot more clashing, I think, mid game than you would in a North
Hmm.
American environment. And I'm curious to see if all of these teams play traditionally to what we've seen with Europe, or if they're able to kind of change up and play that kind of flex game style. Because I think almost one of the things when you see pro teams versus players like this that are looking to make it up into the pro league, you'll see almost too much meta camping. Like
Hmm.
we've seen the solo queue goats, right? They run a Bangalore. Shiv runs a Bangalore. That's not
Yeah.
traditional. They
No.
got third in the world championships or in their region
Hmm.
championships using a non-meta character. And I think that's something that Europe is far more inclined to do than we see with North America, where they're willing to play to their strength. We see Scars with a
Hmm.
Loba, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. And so I'm hoping to see some of these teams. I'm looking at these top 3 teams, hoping that we're going to see some non-meta picks. I mean, of course, we have SFC as our first, TNA as our second, and Aim Assist Suns as our third here. And I'm hoping that out of those 3, we might get somebody a little bit weird here. I would like to see a Crypto. A Loba would make me chuckle. I mean, if we get a Rampart all the way to the top, man,
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
what I'm going to do.
I mean that's such a huge pick though. If you can get those rampart walls up, it's so huge. But here is the point distribution. So this is how the teams are going to earn points over our 4 games today. So obviously huge points for getting first, second, third. That is where you want to be. Those are going to put you in really good position. You also get a kill for you got oh sorry, excuse me. You also get a point for every kill. So that can really add up to 57 points in the lobby if you really took out every single person, but teams got to be placed in those top 4 or 5 slots to earn themselves a consistent number of points.
Absolutely. And I really like this point score. We were talking with production before we got into the games here about how we like this new point scoring, that we were so fortunate to get to have these custom lobbies here at CGL. And just that we were glad to break the kill race format, because kill races are
Yeah.
great. They lead to a lot of quick justification, right? But a lot of the higher tier, sweaty kind of mirroring comp almost, or mirroring ranked gameplay is going to be shown with these teams that are really needing to hole out until they can get to that top 5, like you said.
Yeah, and kill races are good and all, but there is a lot of luck involved in them. There's still some RNG, obviously, in these private lobbies because you don't know where the ring's gonna go, you don't know what guns you're gonna land on. But in the kill races, you don't know who you're going up against, you don't know what guns you're gonna get, you don't know any of that. So it is just so much luck involved that good teams do win, but obviously, like there are like so much luck that it could be your team doesn't do well in those. So it's good to see a fresh new format. I'm really glad we got this private lobby and good to experience it. And the true team that is the best will win today.
That's exactly right. And private lobbies are not easy to come by. So I think
No.
CGL, maybe a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, is doing some good things with the developers here. That is not necessarily an easy thing to have. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic that we get to have that at our side here. But I'm in agreement with you. I think also an interesting format that we have here is I think traditionally a lot of the GLLs and the AGLS are done in 6-game format. So the point scores to me, this looks like we've actually raised the point scores to make each game more impactful. But because we're doing so many games today, we're actually breaking it down to 4 games rather than 6. So although that RNG could still be a factor, this is going to be a really tough one because you don't have as many do-overs as you would need. You're not going to have that TSM 3 points and then they swing back and they get 60 in the following game, right? You have a lot less opportunity to do that. So each game needs to be maximized to its biggest potential. You have to be careful.
Yeah, and one slip up can honestly really hurt you. If you place 20th one game and you get 0 points, whereas someone that was right behind you getting 30, they can skyrocket above you. You can lose your position, and you really got to give it your all today if you really want to win this money. So we'll see, maybe, and obviously adjusting. That's the most important thing, staying consistent and adjusting. So maybe if a comp doesn't work for you, maybe if you're playing some Fuse or some Caustic or something that's not working, maybe you switch it up for a Volk or a Gibby or something to put it in your team.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if any teams are going to be employing Valk. I mean, we've seen a lot of that in the GLLs and the APAC and ALGS, where people have favored rotating with a Valkyrie as opposed to an Octane or Wraith or kind of anything like that. And I'm curious to see if we get to see that Valk. I really like the character. I'm not great with flight. I'm a controller player myself, and I think Valkyrie favors a lot of mouse and keyboard movement with the tap strafing in the air. But on the other hand, I think that tactical ability with the stun, the area denial, I mean, Valkyrie is well balanced, but very, very strong. I personally think Valkyrie may be my favorite character Respawn's ever dropped.
Yeah, she's pretty nuts, and if you've been practicing on her and you can use her, like, she's insane. Like you said, with the quick stuns, she's got a really, really nice ultimate that doesn't just let you reposition, it also lets you know where every single person around you, where you're landing. So you know exactly this team's here, this team's there, so you aren't jumping on a full team or whatever, maybe from a jump tower or something like that. And that also, her team from a jump tower also gets that. So it's just huge, huge tools given by the Valkyrie. But obviously, they could prioritize other things. Like if they are trying to play maybe an NA style of this aggressive with the Octane Bloodhound, just sending it in and wiping these teams as fast as they can if they aren't expecting it.
Absolutely. And another thing about Valkyrie that I'm very curious about, that I think she's potentially the most balanced character that's ever been released in this game, right? Her ultimate takes a couple seconds to trigger. You usually see it paired with a Gibby Dome because you need to use both abilities to guarantee that she's able to get off the ground, which is well balanced. If you're going to get a free reposition, you need to be using multiple abilities, tacticals. I think that's great. One of the things we've seen teams complain about a lot in high tier, both in Europe and in America, in North America rather, is Valkyrie redeploying on ultimate height. You've got that 30-second boundary to be on top of skyscrapers, mountains, things like that. I'm curious to see if we've got some teams that are able to big brain some of that and land on that ultimate height. If you're just standing on a skyscraper and you throw a Gibby ult off the top of that, I mean, good luck for the team down below you. I mean, what are you going to do?
And I mean, we've heard so many complaints about that, honestly. I feel like they're going to change that after the next season, is reduce the timer that you can play out of area. I mean, it's always good to have, like, because there's spots in the map you don't even know about that, like, you're going to land there and it's going to be like, you're out of the area, but like 30 seconds just sitting up there feels like a lot. So, but maybe the players are going to play tonight. We do have somebody saying in chat that they're going to run Fuse tonight in NA, so we better watch out.
Let's go. This man's going to need the 3-stack Arcstar stick. We better see 19 Arcstars in that final circle. That's what we need. You have to do the voice lines for Fuse the whole time for your team. If we got a faux Astro listening, we're going to go to the CGL listening. It better just be you cracking Aussie jokes the whole time.
Yeah, that'll be great. We better see that tonight. We'll see. Maybe a Fuse in EU. He's an interesting character. I don't know if he's strong enough to play, but I like the addition of the sticking, that his balls could stick to enemies now and explode and do damage, which is really nice. But I don't know if he's strong enough. He's good at zoning, but we'll see. I guess we'll see him tonight.
That's exactly right. I think that payload could be so useful in a final circle. The visual detriment that it gives your team too. It's also very hard to see through that fire. Is a little bit rough. And you can, I mean, unfortunately, when you've got new characters like Valkyrie who have area denial, Watson's pylons can deny all of his abilities, things like that. I just don't know that it's worth risking potentially other assets to use Fuse. I think that, for instance, the Knuckle Cluster, though, is great. Being able to blow open doors at any given chance. I would like to see Fuse get some kind of buff for almost a little grenade detonation if he kicked a door. I would like
Yeah,
to see Fuse one kick doors. That
that'd
could
be
be cool.
cool. Yeah.
Or something like that, just with some kind of tactical format allowing kind of breaching and entry. I feel like that could be a very beneficial update to a Fuse.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I feel like we've had a little bit of a meta shift with this Octane coming in, really, instead of a Wraith that we've seen for a while. But it's kind of been
Hmm.
this Gibby Bloodhound for the past 5, 6 seasons that we've seen, and maybe, I mean, I'm a Gibby main myself, but maybe we need to nerf him a little bit, take him out of the meta. But I mean, even if they don't remove his dome, most likely he's gonna stay in just because that artificial cover is so strong. But I mean, there are other Mirage we've seen a couple times is really strong
Hmm.
with his ultimate, but maybe not strong enough to be playing today. We will see.
Absolutely, I'd love to see some Mirage shift up. I don't know how much time you've been spending in arenas. I have been a ranked grinder for a period of time, but arenas was a really nice throwback. I'm a Halo guy by trade, and it was cool to see the arena format. Mirage's
Oh yeah.
ultimate is unbelievably strong in 1v1 potentials. So I would like to see some of that gunfight or some of that potential that we could get out of Mirage in 1v1 gunfights. But of course, it's not really a 1v1 if it's you versus 12 Mirages. So who knows?
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I'm just like looking at a Mirage, and he just ults and just spins around me, and I'm like, I'm just dead. I don't know where you are, just shooting wildly at him. So maybe we will see some Mirage today, but maybe it'll just be traditional EU. We will have to see. As we're getting close to our first game here, super excited. It's gonna be awesome. Excitement just brimming. You excited?
Absolutely, man. We've got an opportunity. We've got one of my favorite games. In fact, I have to say it, of course, my favorite Battle Royale by far.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I said a Halo guy by trade. I'm an arena shooter guy, and I really fell out of playing the franchise for a period of time and just thought, some of my buddies work on the title. Let's give it a shot. And really fell in love with this. Gosayame, an
Mhm.
old Halo player, was originally part of the balancing and did a lot of development. And now I believe he is head of the esports division, if I'm not mistaken. So Gosayame kind of comes from the world that I come from. And man, you can feel all of the old school love that's poured into the weapon balancing and
Oh
even the
yeah.
way the guns feel and the characters move. It's a very skillful title at its roots, and it's
Oh
such a
yeah.
fun thing to watch and to play.
Yeah, it's an amazing franchise. I have loved it since the beginning. I'm a day one player, and I came from Titanfall 2 with the amazing movement of that. Just
Oh,
brought
okay.
all together, and I think arenas is going to be huge. I can't wait for ranked arenas. I believe they're going to bring it out next season. The tournament potential with arenas. I mean, it's just they have built such an amazing game with just so unique legends, a unique fighting style, and it's just an amazing game to me.
Now, I understand that you guys did some arenas gameplay yesterday, if I am not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, I personally wasn't there, but I heard about that there was some arenas tournament going on. I believe they had to win a certain amount of arena games to qualify here for this event today. So all these teams are battle tested and not. And here, actually, we're going. It is time for our game number one, ladies and gentlemen. June Major CGL. Here we go, dropping on in with Amos's Sons. Here we go.
And it looks like we're going to have the POV of Potsy, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that is going to be the Bloodhound here. We may actually be on
Hmm.
board with the Wraith, though, however. But it does look, no, we are going to be that Bloodhound. But we are seeing that kind of traditional meta. But we do have a Wraith, which is kind of interesting. A lot of the players have opted to no longer use Wraith as her Q ability. Her teleport does take a lot longer to move
Oh
here.
yeah.
But we are going to swap on board with that TNA there for just a moment and swap back to Potsy here. Again, we have a P2020 in tow. He was able to get that R301, but that was not the favorable start. The P shooter in hand, not necessarily the best BB gun to start with.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to land on a P20 with a team right next to you, not the strongest. But we did see some troubles here in this spot in the NA region with some of our practice with teams landing together here and fighting early and some of them losing. And with only 4 games, dying off the rip is pretty bad. So we will still be following Amos's Sons here, and as we switch on over, we're going to get a little bit of the first look at this ring. It is going to be Fragment a little bit, and Geyser, a little bit of Harvester in there. So we don't know where it's going to pull yet, but could be a fun last ring if it pulls up towards that Fragment side.
So based on what we saw right there, I would be able to forecast that the ring is probably going to pull to no man's land a little bit
Hmm.
outside of the of fragment there. That's my guess because the way Respawn's done it is we do traditionally, and this is actually a really interesting circle. You usually see this circle pull towards thermal. You usually
Yeah.
do not see this fragment side. So this is a fantastic zone for us to get to see today. Whether this is just European luck or whatever this might be, I am really on board for this. But we do already see some damage on this player here. We see the Octane who has juiced himself, and he is near quite a few teams. So pushing towards that beacon here potentially at the no man's land, but we do see 2-3 teams in Fragment West. We see a team at Countdown here that does look like they're about to get into an engagement here on board with MKS, and this is going to be the player POV of BXR Roxo.
Yeah, and we saw on that other team actually a Caustic. So the first Caustic we see, and right here we see a Revenant. So a really, really aggressive team coming off. Revenant, Octane, Bloodhound, and they are fighting in this countdown area with the Sentinel. Got some super long scopes on that. So a very, very aggressive team. They have that Revenant ultimate that gives them a full 100 health to just push and do whatever they want. With the Bloodhound ult, it's pretty, pretty nasty.
Yeah, that Revtane combo, you see a lot of players talk about it. You've seen a lot of the NA players, a lot of the RPR, you've seen the the Arcanes, excuse me, honestly complain about the Revenant Bloodhound meta. I mean, PvPX, a player that I had coached and am close with on Cloud9, has constantly been opposed to the Revtane meta.
Yeah.
Because you have that, of course, if you're in your ultimate form, you have that Revenant that makes you completely quiet. The Octane jump pad makes near no noise, and you're able to effectively get a free reset if you don't get a knock on a team. And if you're able to get the knock on the team, you get the reset anyway, and you're 3 versus 2. You've set yourself up for success. So there is no fault of a player for abusing that. Honestly, if you're given the tools of the trade, why not, right? But it is definitely frustrating to play against.
Yeah, and we see it. I mean, I don't know how much you play ranked, but like I'm up there in Diamond, and it is all that teams play, and it is just Rev team after Rev team after Rev team. And if you don't kill those shadows, like you're just in so much trouble. And I mean, like you said, you can't really blame the players. Like it is something that they should implement if they're gonna win with it. If it's gonna be the best thing for them, it's kind of like the Spitfire, in my opinion, is a little bit broken, but it's not
Can't
the
beat
fault
'em,
of the
join 'em.
players. Yeah. So, we are on board with an Octane here. The one I thought was a non-existent player, so sorry about that. And they are also running an aggressive combo. So aggressive combos coming out here in EU, starting out as Ring 1 closes. The Octane Rev Gibby. So not with the Bloodhound, no sonar knowledge, so they won't be able to scan any beacons, but they will be a pretty aggressive team with that 2 times on the R9. Already got a blue mag on it, but not the best shields, as they might have spotted out some enemies.
It looks like we could be. The Octane is going to be pinging that ultimate here, so potentially trying to give that to either his Revenant or his Gibraltar. Back in the day, we used to save those for our Gibbies and our Lifelines here, but Lifeline, of course, has rotated a bit out of the meta unless you are a pubs player here, because it does give you the opportunity to kind of reset. But we might see our first big engagement here. Here is this Revtane combo. We are going to see the jump pad employed here, and this is going to be some of our engagements. You have the Octane POV on the right, and the Gibraltar from the opposing team on the left. The Eva coming in on the left, but that R9 absolutely brutalizing that player, him not even being reset yet. And of course, that Revenant ultimate, that was a huge amount of damage. That Revenant ultimate, of course, taking a little bit of your health, but Gibby is already forced to dome, and the Octane on our left-hand team here already down.
Yeah, this is not looking good. 2 down already. The Eva shots might not be enough because the reset already did happen, but health bars are left. They have the high ground. The Octane looking for a shield swap. The wingman on the Gibby. It is 1 left on the Bloodhound. He looks like he's going to ult and just try and get out of here, as the Gibby, as the Bloodhound's just going to get out of here, as both of his team members are dead. Wants to get that placement points, has to get out with something. So we will see Valor Esports losing 2 of their members, and only Sweetie is left.
Yeah, that is a particularly difficult fight to lose there. Unfortunately, with the Gibraltar, I mean, even in a building, that's a particularly difficult fight there. They had the awareness. They had almost the same team comp right there, excluding the Revenant. And I honestly think the Bloodhound, with that info, should have been able to give them a little bit more information to fight correctly. I would have liked to see a little bit more use of the height on top of that building right there, because that was a very, very aggressive push from the Revtane Gibby team.
Oh, yeah. And I think it was just, honestly, a little bit difference of shields. We saw that, and, you know, that can happen. If you only have white shields and you're going up against purple or blues, that can cause you to lose a fight. And Bloodhound is just going to be solo now, just going to try and live his life, try and get the most placement points possible, because obviously even as a solo, you still gotta keep going for your team and try and get some, even if it's 1 or 2 points, get just anything you can out of this match.
Absolutely. And now we're going to be jumping on board with SFC, I believe, was that team here. And this is going to be our first place team that we have ranked here. This is going to be our first seed here. So Lavracia Derschmeister, if I'm not mistaken, and Win for the Money, who is the player that I'm most allied with here. I'm on the same team, man. Man's out here for money. He's here for a paycheck. You know, CGL is potentially going to give him a nice day's living today. So he's here for it.
Oh yeah, and you already see them causticing up. They got this little bit more defensive team. So and right now we're seeing two totally different styles. So we're seeing a couple caustics and trying to like hold down buildings as they hold down this geyser spot. Maybe it pulls over here. They won't have the info to know, but. And then we also see a couple teams running this Revenant, which is an exact opposite, which is just super, super aggressive pushing. And we will see when those collide, what strategy wins, whether the defense or the offense works.
That's exactly right. And I think we are potentially going to see that zone pull. We're either going to see this pull downwards towards that no man's land where we saw that first team skirmish out on that beacon here, or potentially in here towards the geyser, right? So the way that the zones work is they tend to try to focus onto areas with a couple buildings, but also open space. So you can finally go ahead and close out that match in the open space. So for those of you in the chat that may be Apex fans, but may not necessarily know how the game pulls or how you can start to forecast your own zones, that's a great way to try to learn, is to watch some of the other competitive and then see kind of try to play that game. How many buildings are there? What's the open space? And what are the chances of it going to each location?
Yeah, and we see Ring 2 closing a little bit here already, and Geyser is in. So SFC might know something we don't. Maybe they know that this ring is going Geyser. I mean, they've probably played millions, or not millions, thousands of these Apex games, and maybe they've played this exact ring before and know that maybe it's pulling to Geyser, but they're already causticing up, just hoping that it's there. And if it is there, they have the prime building on this high ground already for this fight.
That's exactly right. This team obviously knows what they're doing. We're on with this SFC roster here, and you saw, for those of you again in the chat that maybe Apex fans, maybe love some content creators and love to watch some of the games, but are learning competitive here. A lot of the heals that they were putting on the ground there, you saw that blue armor they were trading in and out. They were setting up some armor swaps for themselves as well. So if they were to be engaged in a fight in that building, it is often easier to go ahead and swap armor than it is to heal. But it looks like they may know something, as you had said, Llama. They may know something that we don't, because look at this rotation towards the outside of the circle. That's not exactly something that you would see in this environment here. So obviously they are rotating either to pick a fight or because they know where they need to be.
Yes, and I think they know where they need to be, honestly. I believe it's going to be Geyser, and this little outside Lava City building is where the ring is going to be going. So I think they're prioritizing moving over here, and I believe they landed right on another team, if I'm not wrong. So Bochek Republic right above them, and we might have a fight on our hands.
I think we might, and I believe in the hands of that Octane, we see that red weapon there. So that top tier utility right there, that was going to be the Kraber. So a lot of pros, again, NAEU, a lot of folks like the Kraber, and a lot of folks do not like the Kraber. They think it's a little bit less of a skillful weapon here, and I think, especially in the hands of the right player at medium to close range here, the Kraber is absolutely ridiculous. It becomes near hit scan when you're in 2x4 range. So very, very abusable and very powerful. But again, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. And there is money on the line courtesy of CGL. I mean, I'd employ every trick in the book.
Yeah, and the Kraber it's a good tool to have in your belt. If you have that Kraber and you knock somebody from another team, if you get a headshot, that's an automatic knock right there, even if it's a Gibby. So if you take someone down with that, is just a huge tool to be able to push someone. And we are loading on with Carnage, who's going to be in a fight maybe with somebody else, as teams are rotating to try and get to this ring. So like we said, more of a Geyser and maybe a little bit of that outside Lava City circle building type ring here, as we might have a fight in this vault tunnel, as it looks like two teams might be running into each other.
And we have to give a nod to our wonderful observers here, able to pick fight for fight. But look at that. We do see the opposing players from another team. The Revenant Silence does come out. We see the skirmish already. The Valkyrie has to back behind the truck. Valkyrie's down. 2 players silenced. Gibraltar not able to dome. And I believe that is going to be 3 players knocked. And a clean sweep that Gibraltar dome may not even come into play. It looks like he's going to narrowly misses the dome just a small bit. But look at the cooperation from that Octane. Instead of forcing his teammate to heal, we're going to get the hot swap on that purple armor there. So that teammate only needs needs to heal their health portion in case they get third-partied right here, as we do see this next squad roll up from outside the vault.
Yeah, and that was a good fight from them. Just saying real quick, they ratted it perfectly, got them caught out, but they are getting third-partied now. As they're getting pushed further back, they might have a team behind them too, as they might be sandwiched between two squads, but they are trying to fight the team in front of them, putting in good shots. The Bloodhound is going to be in ult, so he's going to know where they are. The white shield on the Gibby might end up being their downfall, but a good thermite. They're out of ring. They're going to have to just walk it in, and the Bloodhound scan will come out. The Spitfire shots won't be good enough to take one down, but they're going to continue looking on. Nothing too much of damage yet, as it looks like they might just rotate out, or they might be trying to take this.
And it does look like that zone hit a very odd close there part of the way through the vault, so teams will have to walk this out. And I believe we do see the team with that character's gamertag Smurfer is going to be going out into the zone trying to tank that damage here. Looks like this team was able to swap back into some of their armors here, and you do see this engagement exactly as you said, that white armor on that Gibraltar. Now the gun shield potentially able to save him a little bit here, but a Gibby versus Gibby, purple versus white armor, I mean, that's pretty easy math regardless of how you look at things here. And that's going to be on board with the Prophet, our Bloodhound in hand. He's going to be able to scan those players. A little bit of a height deficiency and a Revenant with the ankle breaker. Bloodhound is trying to get out of this engagement, but he is not able to. It is left to our white armor Gibraltar, and he is going to fall a little bit short. Shields just a little bit not able to withstand. And we're going to see our left-hand team here, our Coveritos, absolutely take the win.
What a fight. I believe they were the ones third-partying this, so a very good third party from them. They just had better shields there. They got good shots, really good shots before the dome went down, and just played really, really well around
that kill count.
Yeah, 5 kills. The kill leader here. Just insane. And we see SFC, the team that rotated out, now in a really good spot. We see that third ring close here, and it is not Geyser. It is going to be the outside of Lava City here, and they called it perfectly somehow. we were thinking Geyser, and they called it perfectly.
Yeah, and it's looking like, based on what we saw on that mini-map right there, that it is going to pull exactly as you said towards that Lava City side. We've got a little bit of Geyser left in the zone, but it certainly will not pull there. It does try to pull towards a beacon location, and Lava City could be absolutely great. I'm not sure if we were able to see on the mini-map if there was going to be any of the dome in the zone as well for that team that may have landed at that launch site as well. But we are going to see them rotate towards that Geyser exactly as you had said, taking a previously deployed bounce pad here, and it looks like they're actually going to be following pretty slowly behind that team we did see rotate out towards a no man's land here on our left-hand side. But again, that was a very large amount of points, but they're playing the fast short game as opposed to some of the teams we've seen rotate early in a very European style that are setting up for the late game. So curious to see how that plays out for them later in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, they still have a bunch of kills. I believe they have 2 squad wipes now, so at least 6 points coming out. And they are, it looks like they might have a team that they're zoning out a ring here. Don't know exactly where yet, but they have high ground on them, and they have the ring, so they are in the best position to take this fight, as we see them just trying to hold this team out. And that's one of the things at Apex. If you don't have ring, you got to rotate in, and somebody's usually always holding that choke point. So, but it looks like they will have another team shooting at them from the side, or maybe that was the team they were trying to hold out, as I believe ring fully does close here, and both teams will be in for now.
And it did look like maybe on ultimate height up above them on the left-hand side, there may have been a Kraber shot coming around there, but that's going to be a Revenant. I believe he is going to have an R301 in hand. We do see the ring pulling right now. There should be 3 or 4 teams engaging, and there is a team on the ultimate height over near the train tracks in Lava City as well. So we were close. We called it Geyser Lava City pull, and we were right in between. So I love to see some of that behind the desk here, but not necessarily some great shots coming out of this Gibraltar here. Matashinos is, I believe, the player's name here, this Gibraltar, and he's very, very close to his final tier of his Evo shield, and he's able to light up both this purple and this blue series of shields here, and it looks like he has picked up 1 more kill. We saw him with 5 as the kill leader. He was able to pick up 1 more in the background and break top 10 for some of the point discrepancy here, so absolutely massive plays out of this team.
Yeah, the 3 times on the R301 just really, really strong, especially on controller. So he does have 6 kills. He also has 3 assists, which means they have at least 9 kills right now on their team. So pretty insane. SFC back on with them, our #1 team, holding out this ring. They did predict a little bit wrong. They got really, really close, but they will most likely have to rotate. There is a little truck over there. That's most likely what they're going to look for.
And I believe you're exactly right, but look at how well this team was poised. We talked about it earlier that they may have been doing something for late game, and they're doing exactly that. We see the Gibraltar bombardment in the back. We see a 3-man stack with a Caustic in the truck in front. This is very, very, very European in its gameplay style here, because we still have a fair amount of teams, although this is not truly like a GLL style, but that's going to be absolute beaming out of the Bloodhound here. The Caustic on the other hand is going to fall. They are potentially going for this Thirst. The Octane sends off of the bounce pad over the downed player. They may even return to try to get the pickup. They are potentially going to get this player in the beacon. We may see a mobile beacon come into play here. We don't see that in anybody's hands here, and they are going to be going for the Thirst, trying to guarantee themselves some points here. They need to be getting these Thirsts if they're going to be in a rough spot here, because they're fighting against ultimate height, and if they're going to potentially die, they need to make sure they can take out as many squads to potentially get that top 5-point multiplier.
Yeah, Ring is closing on them right now, so they have to be a little bit careful. They are missing a member. 13 seconds until I don't believe that rock is in, so I believe they're going to have to move in even more. 8 squads still left. They're still missing a member. The R9 shots won't exactly hit how we want. They're going to look. They are at a ring, but they're good for now, it looks like. It looks like they do have a little bit of rock, but the Bloodhound going to take a lot of damage here. We'll have to see if this other team wants to blow their height to push them. But 8 teams in this small ring. We will see who is going to take it.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that team's interest in backing down, and I'm also very glad that a team didn't get overamped and was willing to give up any form of height advantage to chase out what is going to be 2 easy kills when the zone closes, right? You'll see that a lot in a lot of gold and platinum tier gameplay, where players will push a fight that's not even advantageous for them just to get 1 kill. And especially when you're this close to a top 5, you need to make sure you're going to stay alive. Like, this team may be getting a little bit overeager. They're aware of those players here. We see that in the bottom of our camera here. We have that one player holding down the hut, and we have those others 2 players trying to peek them. Now, if there's a Kraber or if there's any kind of a long distance weapon employed by another team here, they could be a very easy pick from that team that's on the dome.
Yeah, and the Gibby out by himself, he is a little bit of a bigger character, so you don't want to be out there by yourself. And like you were saying, 1 kill is not worth it. And if it's usually a solo, they're going to be like an Octane or something, running their little life away, and you're just going to blow your high ground for absolutely nothing. But AAS going to have a tough rotation, but a very tough rotation actually for a lot of teams here. This ring is pretty terrible. It is going to be a lot of open ground, like you said earlier, to just shrink our teams down, as we see a lot of teams falling in the kill feed, down to 5 squads left. AAS have to make this rotation, and they are on the longest side of the ring, too.
Now, we do see a team under the train tracks kind of in the foreground on the left-hand side here. Now, that's actually going to be a very good spot for them to be. Now, traditionally, you want to hold height in kind of any esport here, but you are able to force a team. If you're the team that's able to survive a little bit lower, you can set up your armor swaps. You have a little bit of cover here. You even see that they have their death boxes. I'd like to see them drop a little bit of armor here, but they are going to be protected from Gibraltar ults. They're going to be protected from any kind of top-down, but that charge rifle from, I believe, the Caustic in the truck is going to come into play here, and they have already forced the bubble. So if another team is going to walk up here with shotguns, this is going to be absolutely massive.
Oh, already one down though. Bocek, it's Bocek Republic.
Oh
No! Oh, the ring is gonna take down the Bloodhound, and the Gibby is just out in the open. There is no cover for them here. They're gonna find a little rock, and they have to push this team now. The Bloodhound is just basically dead, as Octane and Gibby are the only 2 left alive.
Now, there is a potential that the Gibraltar can spend the dome here trying to toss this on this Bloodhound and try to bait another team into pushing them, because if the team in the cart is going to engage here, they're going to need to push that. But they do see the Octane out in the zone, but that player may be tanking a little bit of damage there. But again, we see the Caustic trap, this team that has fought all the way for late game. We are going to see the Gibraltar res, whether or not they have the gold bag. That Caustic team is going to have to push out of the truck, and see, this Caustic team is in a fantastic position to hold this down, because they have 2 fortifiable characters, and that Valkyrie is going to be absolutely massive for area denial. This team is set up for late game, and I believe this team in the truck is potentially going to be able to walk away with our victory based on that team comp.
Yeah, and we see Bocek Republic just putting in massive shots with the Spitfire here, just dinking them out, and they have actually really nice rocks to hold that might give them a little bit of advantage. We don't know the 3rd team in. We know Bocek Republic is on this rock, and then we also have the team in the truck, which I believe is our #1 team coming into today. So they're already launching their Caustic traps. The ring starting to close. In 2 minutes, we will have a winner here.
It's That's exactly right. And we do have Gibraltars on both teams, I believe, or all three teams, excuse me. But we do not necessarily have Caustic. So the team that does have the Caustic again for this late game is going to be able to throw those traps. He's going to be able to hopefully throw his ultimate here. That's what we would be hoping. Gold helmet or some kind of ultimate accelerant to get him in here. We have a little bit of a naked Volt right here, but it doesn't really matter because we're able to snipe with the Spitfire. And with a minute and 30 seconds here, we're able to force out that Gibraltar dome. Now, the Valkyrie Strike is going to come in and stun all these players. Valkyrie, that player we did talk about earlier, that player character, it's not going to do too much, and we do see our Gibraltar with that gold helmet. So as opposed to a 20-second cooldown, we should see 16 to 17 seconds here, which is a little bit, but that may end up being very impactful in this final series of fights.
Oh yeah, and Czech Republic is just slaying them here. They have a perfect rock here, and Elysium, this is the other full team. This is 3 teams of 3 members are hitting them from the other side. So our number 1 team just cannot catch a break as both teams are looking at them. But their rock will be exposed. They're going to have to drop the Gibby Dome here. Looks like Czech Republic in the perfect spot to win this game. PK shots are good. But Czech Republic will lose one here. As Elysium doing really, really well, fending off the hordes. Gibby gets his red back. Looks like 2 going to go down from Elysium. Czech Republic win the fight, but is it enough to win the game? As they will go into their final fight with our number 1 team. Eva shots hitting, 2 are down to our Octane. Is he going to be able to win this? And I believe that is it.
Wow.
Very well done. I believe.
Very
Elysium.
impressed.
Whew. What a game number 1 ending. Very well done from our game 1 champions right there. Wow.
Yes, it is, and I'm double checking the roster. I believe that was actually Czech Republic.
Wow.
Megatutty was the player I believe we saw in that kill feed there at the end. I believe was the Bloodhound on that roster. So huge. I'm a little bit not disappointed, but I'm impressed, I guess, in some regards that the team that was able to hold out that truck for so long was not able to take that victory. I think the Caustic ult just a little bit too soon, and the Gibraltar was nerfed a little too hard, a little too quick there. So just not able to hold out for that long game.
Oh yeah, and I believe like both teams are looking at them, so they're in a really tough position. They're trying to gas it up, but they don't like if you use all your barrels now, then you won't have them for the next minute that you really need them for. But they need them to block the vision, so they're getting hit from both sides. And until that ring closed on Elysium, I believe it was, they couldn't really do anything. They just had to waste everything they had. You saw them wasting like the Valkyrie Strike and everything just to keep these 2 teams off of them, because both of these teams didn't want to shoot each other. And then as soon as that ring closed, just mayhem. And we see Czech Republic just putting in great shots and fighting between all 3 teams. And it was a great final ending to game 1.
It really was, and the ability to get that Bloodhound up. Remember, that was our Bloodhound that was knocked on the train tracks and not thirsted at about that 6th place team mark. So that Bloodhound going down was absolutely impactful, and that team was able to even get that knock. He crawled all the way through the open. The team in the truck, the team behind the rock, neither of them thirsting a blue knockdown shield. So very weird, very clutch from that Gibraltar to be able to get the res, as that was the team that was able to walk out with that victory there. I would have liked to see our team in the truck, maybe Valkyrie Strike, the team on the rock to their right-hand side, and kind of clear in terms of height, right? We had almost that hierarchy of height. The rock was furthest back, truck was in the middle, and that team lower. And I think had they wiped that team next to them with a Caustic ult, they either force them into the zone or they force them into the open. And I think they could have had an opportunity to clean up.
And I think the other team, maybe the thing that the team in the truck could have done, they could have Valkyrie ulted and just let the other 2 teams fight while they just like fly in the air for like 30 seconds if they really wanted to. But it's at the end of the day, it was just, if you drop your dome after they drop theirs, that theirs is going down first. So after that team comes out of that rock and drops the dome, both of those teams know that they're going to be dead first. So they both look at them, and it's just a rough situation when you don't have any cover and your Gibby Dome is going down.
That's exactly right. And that's something for the viewers in the chat to take note of there, that there is a lot of Gibraltar dome fights. I mean, traditionally, kind of when you break that platinum threshold and you start to get in with players that want to play at a higher tier, you're going to see a lot of the dome fights and things like that. And the easiest way to fight a Gibraltar team is to force the dome to be used. And then the easiest way to go ahead and clean up on that is if you get them into a tough spot. That dome will blink about 2 or 3 seconds before it's about to pop. So you can toss some arc stars on top. You can kind of preemptively set up to ape the team in the dome. So for those of you that want to get a little bit of the high tier and maybe find yourselves in a CGL competition here soon, that is a great way to take on the pretty commonplace Gibraltar fights.
And I don't think anybody actually dropped their Gibby ult. if correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I
I think
actually
you're
saw
right.
anyone drop it there because it does do a lot of damage, but it blinds your team pretty hard. So
Hmm.
and I believe a Gibby ult is the same exact timer as a Gibby dome. So if you throw it after the dome goes up, you know it's gonna at least hit them a couple times. So, but I don't think I saw a Gibby ult there at the end. I don't know. Correct me if
I
I'm
think
wrong.
you're right. I think the last time we saw one was maybe top six. Someone was trying to
Hmm.
airstrike the beacon building, the L Corner beacon building behind at the top of Geyser. So I think you're exactly right. I think Caustic was really the only ultimate we
Yeah.
saw. There was a lot of movement utility. Bloodhound would have had the speed utility, but nothing really offensive in the regards of like a Bang or a Gibby ult. Per se,
Hmm.
I think Valkyrie's tack strike was kind of the only thing we saw. And to couple your comment on the Gibby ult there, not only does it do an insane amount of damage, it also slows and blinds opponents.
Hmm.
So talk about one of the strongest characters in the game. That's why we see Gibby on almost every roster, both in NA and EU. Just a very, very powerful character, Mr. Gibby Main.
Yes, yes, Gibby right here with us. He is very strong, but now we got to think these teams. If you lost super early, what are you going to change to make yourself win this next game? Because already one game's passed, we're a fourth of the way through. You got to think maybe if you were running a Revenant combo and you died early off an aggressive push, maybe you switch it more to a defensive combo, or if you're running a defensive combo and you died early, switch it, and maybe you land a different place, maybe you challenge a different team off drop. We might see that as we're getting later into the games, as these lower teams get struggle a little bit more. They might try and land on these top teams just to try and take them out so they could take their spot possibly.
That's exactly right. And I think one of the most interesting things about this competition is I don't believe teams were forecasting their landing zone. So we could see a
Hmm.
lot of 50-50s. I mean, there's a chance, and I'm making this up, but we could see three teams land East Frag, right? And
Hmm.
there's a potential that we're going to see two team wipes within the first 45 seconds of the game because we already saw, we were on board with, I believe, SFC off of our drop, our first place team. We saw P2020 in the hands of their Bloodhound. I mean, what are you going to do? A guy next to you has a Mastiff.
Yeah,
Congratulations. You
and
lost
Purple
your
Shield and a
50-50.
Gibby.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it always goes.
That's exactly right. So RNG can absolutely be a factor. As good of a team as you are, you're not winning a P2020 fight against Snipe Down. It's not happening.
That's very true. It's so true. And I believe we had a couple days of practice, but obviously, like things could change. Maybe you don't like your landing spot. Maybe you want to land somewhere else. Maybe you want to take a team out. Teams have to start thinking. And if you did do really well this match, you just got to keep staying consistent. That's the most important thing. You don't have to win every single game. You just have to do good enough to keep that first place spot.
Absolutely. And of course, like it is in comp here, those placement points are going to be very, very impactful. A first place
Yeah.
is equal to getting 12 kills. And I don't believe we saw any team break that threshold there. Correct me if I'm wrong. We might be able to get something from production here to give us a point breakdown. But I
Hmm.
don't believe anybody broke the 12 kill threshold, regardless of team. So I
Yeah.
think we might have been right around there. But a first place team is able to walk away with that. Not only that, but Bocek Republic was picking off quite a few kills there. I believe Mega Tutty was our Bloodhound. I believe we saw him with 6 kills. Saw them with 6 kills by the end of the round right there. So I mean, at 18
Oh yeah.
points minimum, that is a start to a game.
Yeah, and just insane fight from them too. And like you said, 12 points is so huge coming out of it. I mean, second place you get 9, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
not too bad. You can still stay in it with that, but those points are going to be huge and it gives you a really good boost knowing that you're a little bit further ahead, knowing that maybe if one of these other games maybe you slip up a little, you have that first game that you did really well that you can fall back onto.
Absolutely. And having that little bit of almost insurance in the back pocket
Hmm.
is super important. And I think that's actually what we see a lot, even with gameplay styles, too. That Gibraltar is kind of that insurance, right? You've got a really, really powerful character in that you can go out and you can tank a lot of damage. You can get the dome to reset. Not only is your ultimate defensive, but it's also offensive. I mean, that's opposed to one of those characters like an Octane or like a Wraith, even, where you have no ability to do external damage. That's not what your abilities do, right? You're Bloodhound with scans.
Yeah.
That's all information's very useful, but there's very different ways to play, and almost that back pocket insurance is why we see a lot of Gibraltar. It's why we set a lifeline during seasons 1 through 3, where you would have those quick, easy reses and things like that. So definitely meta defining, I think.
Yeah, he's so meta defining, and I got my Gibby main shirt on here, so
Oh, let's
got
go.
both both my Gibbies here, so definitely very very meta defining. I changed him in season 2, but he's definitely been just a huge part. And honestly, I think he does make the game really really fun and interesting to watch because he does
Hmm.
give you that little bit of artificial cover that maybe like if you were a team that had like you would have no chance to really rotate in if you didn't really have like a Gibby or something like that.
Hmm.
So.
Well, guys, I think we are going to be able to cut to a break right here as we get set up for our second match here. Llama and I will be right back with you. We're excited to get into our game number 2. Maybe we're going to see some character switch ups. Maybe we're going to see the exact same thing, maybe a 50-50 off drop. But all I know is that CGL, Llama, and I are here with you, and we are ready to jump back in as soon as the production team is. So we'll be right back with you.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back. We are here and we're ready. CGL. Game number 2 coming up. But before we have that, I believe we have some replays coming in from last game, which will show you a little bit if you missed any of the action or if you just need a quick recap. I believe they will be coming in soon, right?
I believe so. And there was a lot of action in our previous matchup here. I believe we might have some replays from the final zones. We might have some replays from that absolute almost car wreck that we saw in the vault there headed towards Geyser. I think, 6 teams went out, six teams went in, 1 team came out. I mean, am I trapped in here with you or are you trapped in here with me? I'm scared to be in a locked room with a Gibraltar, and I guess everybody else is too.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, we saw some good plays from like, I mean, some people call it ratting, but I mean, like you said, you got to do whatever you can to win the money. So we did see some teams ratting there. And here are some replays starting off from just our first fight with Valor. They had that Revolt, I believe, sent on to them. And I believe they end up losing it. And the Bloodhound there leaves out. We don't know where he goes from there. And SFC, our first place team, getting that rotate into the final zone, getting in the top 3, as we can see right here. They make a really nice rotate just a little bit outside of ring. So a pretty interesting choice from them.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, we saw that team fight on the little hut outside, but here is our rat replay here that we were referring to here. That Polar Bear Gibby just absolutely making giant plays here. And we're going to see that Octane drop an armor swap here for his teammate here. So again, for those of you that are in the chat and may want to take your game to the next level here, that's a great thing you can do for a teammate that was down, because we all know how long it takes to pop a Phoenix kit. First you're down, then Gibby has to res you, and then you got to back up around the corner so you don't stand in a field and die, right? You've got probably 20-something seconds that you wouldn't be in a fight. So that little bit of help from that Octane right there was absolutely massive.
Yeah, and I think it won them the fight, actually, because like he didn't have to heal. He got that purple right away. They got to fight. And it was just a very, very good move from the Octane, being a good teammate instead of maybe looting, getting maybe being an Octane loot goblin, and instead he drops a really nice shield swap for his teammate. And this is AAS. We saw them on the edge just trying to fight for whatever they could on the edge of this ring. They find this nice rock here, and it ends up getting them, I believe, top 6. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right there. I think that was exactly what we got. Here's that Gibby that we did see as the kill leader. This was the team that was able to make it out of that vault, but not out of that gunfight specifically. But they walked away with quite a few kills, and I think they did manage to break that top 5 threshold there. So getting that big point multiplier there for placement, and then also Gibby alone with 6 kills walking out at that point in time. But this is Mega Tutty. This is our Bloodhound player that we were talking about earlier prior to the break that was able to make it all the way into the final zone, and eventually his team got a clutch bubble res and was actually able to win the entire first match.
Yeah, it was very, very clutch. And I believe so what happened was a member of AAS got killed by Bochek Republic, and then the other one snuck around them and then was just chilling there, so they do end up eliminating them there. And this is the final fight that we see. Elysium drops their bubble first, then we see SFC drop their bubble second. We see Elysium send over to them and ending up losing because that Bochek Republic actually gets the better of it as both teams collide, and they just they take a better fight there, and they end up winning game number 1. But all top 3 teams looking really good on points here to start out our 4-game series today.
Absolutely. And then, as we had said, that Bochek Republic, our 13th seed, coming out on top over our top 3 teams. Now, whether or not that was luck, we all know we have to give a little prayer to RNGs this year, headed into our match number 2. Of course, Apex being an incredibly skillful game, but also very difficult in regards that we joked about it before the broadcast. I mean, you can land, I can be a gold 3 player, and if I land on Snipe Down and I have a Mastiff, I'm winning my fight if he's got a P2020, right? So this game can be so skillful and also so luck oriented, and that's a very difficult thing in a tournament format. It's exciting and frustrating.
Yeah, it's also to note that all these teams, like just because they're like 13th seed, like they've been battle tested. They've been through all the practices. They've been through. They've made it through the qualifier, and they're here to play. So even though they might have a little bit less chance than the other teams, but any team here could win today if they make really good decisions and really good plays.
Absolutely, and that battle tested is a great point. And I think there's also always luck when it comes to a battle royale, right? I mean, you see your TSM, you see your C9. We saw it with the World Championships or the championships for North America. Onmu's team, I believe KNG, if I'm not mistaken, effectively a streamer team, was able to come out and win the match point format and win their share of a $600,000 pot. I mean, you can see luck be a factor coupled with skill. So a lot of teams fought their way to be here, but it's kind of all up in the air. And that's kind of one of the crazy things about a battle royale format. So always exciting from a viewer standpoint.
Yeah, and like just like you're mentioning luck, I just gotta shout out my controller team, G2. They always land thermal, and none of the rings in the
Never.
LGS went down there. So they were struggling a little bit, but sometimes luck isn't in your favor. And shout out to all the controller players playing today. Maybe that could be you one day signed by a huge major organization. So that is the hope.
Absolutely, and we've seen a lot of those the pro players that orbit the scene that come from other titles, right? You've got your Zero Plus, who is on a mouse and keyboard. You've got your TSM Imperial Hal. You've got your Reps as well on TSM. I mean, you've got all those players, and they always go, we have to have a controller player because they're our muscle. We snipe at long range, but we really, really need someone who has intrinsic gun skill at a close combat point. So if you're able to master that Prowler, that shotgun, that R99, I mean, you literally could be the next fill role for a large team. That could be you.
Yeah, and like Snipedown is just he's an amazing player. I believe he's won 24 Halo. He came from Halo. He's won like 24 Halo championships. Switched into the Apex scene. Came into a huge organization as a controller player and they've just been doing really, really well. So shout out to them. And like we said, that could be you. You could be that really awesome, amazing role on an amazing team.
Absolutely. And CGL is a fantastic platform to do that. I've had the fortune to be able to do esports full time for the last couple years. I took some roles working with Halo and I've gotten the opportunity to do casting now and so on. And it started with community tournaments. I came from the Halo scene and I came into Apex and did some Siege and it's really great. And CGL and companies like this are a perfect platform participating in these events and being shown in the broadcast and things like that in this day and age, increasing a fandom and increasing viewership. If you have two players of equal skill and one of them has 100,000 followers, well, I know the guy I'm signing for my org, right? So participate and getting your name there. That's the big move.
Oh yeah, it's it gives a chance to maybe. I mean, like there are a lot of good unknown players out there, and this gives them the platform to show everyone bigger that they belong here. So that's what they're proving today, that all of these players do belong, and we will see what happens as the games continue on.
Yeah, we keep using the phrase belong here, but I guess we'll kind of see if you really do. Are you really going to belong here? Are you going to break our top 5 in our game number 2? I'm curious to see where the circle moves here, right? Because that top right circle is not that traditional of a zone, because I guess that kind of migrated bottom right hand corner here. We do see often a lot of overlook in that field between no man's land and overlook. That's often a TSM rotation. You see Cloud9 drop at Refinery and rotate through kind of the middle of the map. I'm curious to see if we get anything, a little bit of a shakeup, or if we're expecting one and teams land expecting the zone to move, and we may even see a replication of what we saw prior.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't see like super like a lot of like when you see a circle that has a building in it, it has a lot of levels, and a team can hold one level of a building, and they don't want to push up, they don't want to push down, they just want to be content with where they are, and that can lead to like 10 or 15 teams packed in a super, super small zone. So maybe if it pulls into one of those larger building areas, we'll see a way more packed final ring or close to final rings too.
Yeah, you see that a lot with those Lava City, where it pulls towards Lava City and Dome and kind of the lava field in between. You'll see exactly that. Teams splitting. I mean, it's a Seattle apartment complex, right? It's 14 people to one room, and you're all elbow to elbow, and nobody's willing to peek a door. Caustic barrels on every turn. There's 7 Gibraltars staring at you, ADS through a door. Like, it's a very dangerous place to be in that I think we may see some slower games the more and more we get through this tournament here, because the teams that were able to ape and get points are now not willing to die early. They just want to get that placement point, but the other teams aren't willing to forfeit their lives either, and they may make it harder for those higher ranked teams. So I think it's going to get slower, and I think it's going to get grittier the more and more we go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I mean, no one wants to die. This is $250 on the line. You're not gonna throw a fight or anything. So every fight is going to be the most intense fight of your life, and you can't make a single mistake.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you and I, we joked about it during the break, guys, and he and I play Apex for free, right? So a
Yeah.
$250 prize pot that's going to end up in my wallet for doing something I love, and I get to do it in a tournament format. I mean, that's all she wrote. I am absolutely here for that. And I'm sure all of these other teams, these top 20 teams here, are here for the exact same reason. I'm hoping to see a little bit more out of, I believe the team name is Kovaros. That was our 20th seed there. And I just happened to like that player that we didn't actually think was a player here with the little frowny face.
Yeah.
So I'm going to refer to him as Frowny. But I would like to see a little bit more out of some of the teams that have a little bit more casual names. I think we've got some memers in the rosters here, and I would like to see them in the limelight there.
Yeah, we got some people with like the Loba clan tags and all that, so it'll be fun. It's always good to have a little bit of um, unprofessional, like it sounds bad, but like to just have like a funny name or something that everybody can laugh at in the lobby, even if like they don't know who you are.
Absolutely. I'm always looking for those guys in the kill feed, right? I'm trying to hunt
Yeah.
down what team's got what, who's got knocks, and then if I see Loba's garters in the kill feed, I chuckle for a minute, and that's
Got
always cute.
Gibby's fat feet with a shield in the kill feed.
That's right.
So
That's exactly right.
yeah, maybe we'll see some NA people just like change their names for tonight.
Yeah, I feel like the NA teams are often a little bit more memers, but
Yeah.
again, I mean that does bring up the question, right? NA versus EU here in the EU format that we've got, we didn't really see, or at least I didn't feel like I saw as much traditional EU meta as I would see. I
No.
didn't really see my Lobas. I did see a fair amount of Octane Rev teams, some Revtane teams
Mhm.
comparatively to what I had expected. I feel like I see European teams play a lot slower, and this wasn't as slow as I had expected. This was pretty fast. So I'm curious to see if we see that kind of speed headed here into this next round again.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it might have just been the first round. Like obviously these teams are still getting a feel for the lobby a little bit, so maybe just trying to play a little bit more aggressive because that's I believe. I mean, it's what you're strong with. So if you're playing aggressive, you have the upper hand, pushing forward usually. So maybe they're just trying to get a feel of the lobby, or maybe they've just completely switched and maybe they do want to play aggressive for this tournament and just rely on themselves, get super confident, and get a lot of kill points racked up to try and win this thing.
Absolutely. One of the things that's made me really happy so far, although we're only one game in, we are 25% of the way through now. For those of
Hmm.
you, again, that are familiar with watching the GLL, APAC, and EMEA formats here, those are traditionally 6-game formats, and we have slimmed it down. So each game has to be more impactful than it would be in that traditional 6-game run here. So everything's going to be a little bit more important there. But one of the things I'm kind of happy about is that I'm not feeling like there's a breakout team that's just going to slaughter
No.
the lobby. I
Hmm.
don't really feel like a certain team is going to take it and run. And I think that that makes for such great competition when literally any team, or at least top of the 15 teams, could all fight for that first place.
Yeah. And I mean it's honestly better. You don't want one team that's just gonna take everything and you feel like you have no chance at all. So it's good to see a
Hmm.
lot of competitiveness from all of these players, and we will see going into game number 2 if we can get maybe some of the lower teams, maybe the bottom 10 teams that haven't showed up yet, come in and have an amazing game that will skyrocket them into the top 5.
Absolutely. And before we get into that game number 2, of course, we have to thank our folks here. Well, Llama, thank you, of course, for joining me. We have to thank CGL as well, of course, and the production team behind it for not only the prize pool, but all of the wonderful, wonderful assets and those beautiful replays we had right before we head into our game at number 2.
And it looks like actually we had some issues with last game. I
Hmm.
believe that there was something wrong that happened, so I believe that game is not going to count, and we will have 4 games left. So starting back over here, um,
Whoa.
crazy, and it gives these teams a whole nother chance. It's a clean slate here, as we will get into game 1, I guess here soon.
Absolutely massive. That is going to be a very big upset because these teams that performed so well, that Bocek Republic that was able to walk out with a very, very clutch win that I didn't necessarily think they were going to walk away with. I didn't even think
Hmm.
that Bloodhound was going to make it all the way through. That hard fought win is not going to be a thing. So you and I have been in a lot of competitions, Llama. I have a baby face, but my age doesn't betray me yet. But I've been around competing for a long time. That would head case me. Talk about, I mean, you've previously been a predator here. Talk
Yeah.
to me about what your mental is going to be going into a tournament. That's a tough place to be.
It is. It is. You just put everything onto that game, and you're sitting here and you think you're in first. You have it. You're a little bit confident, and then you realize that it's not going to count. So you're still really really confident. You still did win that first match, but you put a lot of energy into that first game. You put everything you had, and it is going to be a little bit draining. And that is one of the hardest things for these players, is keeping the mental strength to get through all 5 of these games and stay consistent. Because you could have a game 1, you don't just want to straight fall off after that. So
Exactly.
as we reset here, like we said, just had some issues with the first game. I don't know what it was. Might have been some issues in the back, but whatever it is, you got to be ready. You got to adapt, and that's what Apex is all about, adapting. So we're gonna get back into it, and we will be in game 1.
That's exactly right. And for those of you that are in the chat, thank you for bearing with us here. Of course,
Yeah.
that's an unintended thing that's going on here. I believe there was some stuff with some players behind closed doors here, and we just wanted to make sure that the integrity of the tournament was upheld.
Mhm.
Because although that's frustrating for these teams, right? We've talked about the mental, we've talked about all those things here. We want to make sure that nothing is undermining the
Yeah.
professional quality of the event. So we had to make some adjustments to move forward here. So thank you guys, for those of you in the chat, for bearing with us
Yes,
and
appreciate it.
giving us a platform to get to do this. Llama, you are a fantastic person to get to team up with. So thank you for your
You
insight
same.
as a high tier player.
Yeah, it's it's you want to keep it even for everybody. You don't want anybody to have an unfair advantage, and obviously a lot of money is at stake. We don't want anybody really cheating, and cheaters never win. So we're gonna reset it and get back into game 1, and these teams will get back to it, and it should be a fun series still.
That is exactly right. And I think we got word from production here that they do have most of the players lobbied here. So we will be in relatively shortly, as we head into game number 1. But one of the things that we didn't discuss is, though, that every single time that these games do change here, there is no predetermined zone, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like we're necessarily going to get a replay of that, because, again, that would undermine the integrity of the match here.
Hmm.
So all these teams that landed and were able to forecast their zone, not only is the scoring reset, but the zone is going to be reset as well. So something that favored our Bocek Republic, our
Hmm.
AAS, whatever it might be, may not be favoring these teams. That's that RNG factor, right?
Yeah. And we will see as we are here. It is time getting into game number 1, part 2. um,
Electric
for our-
Boogaloo.
Yep. For our June major here, as we will see where it is going to go. These teams just stay strong, keep it going as we get into game number 1, everybody.
We're just staying on board with this flight path here with Aim Assist Sunzo. I believe this is going to be a different landing zone than we had seen from Aim Assist, but I actually guess not. It looks like they are going to be landing towards the front of one of the 2 launch sites here on the map, and it does look like they're going to be heading through the front, so this is definitely a different flight path here. There may be one team headed towards the lava dome as well that we may have not seen in there as well, but they are going to be heading forward. We don't necessarily obviously know what the rate of the loot is going to be. Of course, that also does change from match to match. So you can have some high tier zones that eventually become regular tiers. But we do see Octane already with a couple weapons in hand, some energy, and a blue shield to start with. So a lot better than the P2020 Bloodhound that we saw in our first matchup here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Vol a little bit better there, as we see TNA here, the R9 on the Bloodhound, and we see a Caustic. So again, teams looking for this a little bit more defensive thing. As our first ring, we don't have a look at it just yet, but I believe it is not pulling up towards the top left of the map or the left of the map. So that'll be really interesting to see. It might be pulling back, like towards you said, towards where the other teams were last game. But enemies spotted out by TNA here. We will see if they are going to want to engage this as a Caustic team, not the most aggressive. And they will be actually decently close, 150 meters out.
Yeah, that is not too bad here. We do see, of course, courtesy of this beautiful observer mode that's in Apex. You have to love
Hmm.
the ability for this theater mode here. But we do see all of the other teams here. A couple players with some health down. It looks like we have a player named Carlos on the right-hand side. There's some health down stimming. But we do see already just a minute or two into our game here, the first gunfight. Now, the team is going to be sent up the Geyser Caustic halfway through his ult. The Bloodhound kind of just trying to spray some bullets here as we see this team push up towards the hut at the top of the small town here towards excuse me if I'm correct, I believe that is going to be towards lava if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Yes, Lava Fisher, and this team is just thinking they don't want to fight that early. They don't have great shields. They don't know what shields the other team had. I believe they only had white, white, blue. So they don't want to fight it right away. They don't want to die right away. And we will load on to here with Outsiders Gaming with a 301 with a 2x, looking to get some poke shots. And it will be Outsiders Gaming on top of them too. So a lot of good angles, but a purple on one on the inside. The Spitfire and the alternator on the Octane. What are they going to do in this fight? A frag grenade will be pulled out, but they're going to get hit with his own art. You hate to see it.
This is going to be a good opportunity to farm some kind of damage that we have here, but unfortunately you can't be harming yourself when you're farming damage. Tragically damage to yourself doesn't count for that Evo shield. It does not look like that's necessarily in their favor, but you were absolutely right about that 301 to 2x. Now, again, I'm a controller player, and I'm not so sure about you, but if I get a 301 with the Bruiser, I am in my happy place.
Oh yeah, that is a good day. But right now, their shields, they aren't in the best day with their shields, so they're just going to decide, you know what, we got some poke damage, we're out. We don't want this fight. Not great shields, like they said, fighting a purple. They're going to get poked out a little bit, but they will end up getting out of here, going into the train tunnel, escaping the fight, getting a little bit of poke damage, which is good, and no harm caused.
Yeah, and it looks like they're rotating towards two teams here. It looks like we might have a team at the weapons depot on the right-hand side over there. That we do see a purple shield as well, but it looks like we see one on the map. So we should be hot swapping into that purple. It looks like he may have been pinging that for a teammate, though, as he may be close to that Evo shield. And then Gibraltar, of course, taking the armor the last amount of times, or the less high-tier armor. But it looks like we're going to get into an engagement here. We do see the Rev ult come into play. That Octane was taken down by those players in the Rev ult and already thirsted. So a whole player down already to the opposing roster.
And they're just sending it. Rev ult and everything. They know it's a 3v2. They're going to send it. And the door. Oh, wow. A shot through the door. Really nice, massive shot. But the Gibby, really low health. The Bloodhound trying to fight all by himself. What's going to happen here is he is down to 2 health. The Bloodhound will go down. And is down to just the Gibby. He's going to shield cell. But 3 are up. And Octane is pushing him with a Spitfire. This is going to be bad. As only the Gibby's left. I don't believe he's going to be able to run.
Yeah, that is never a good fight.
No. And the Gibby will die. Sad.
He certainly will, and that's never a good thing to do if you guys get the opportunity, and this is a good learning experience potentially for that team and this team as well. It is always hard to fight a Revtane team, but at any point, if your teammate is taking an engagement, even if your shield's down, that guy's taking the brunt of the gunfire. Try to do something for your teammate, especially if you're probably going to lose that gunfight. Try to make the best of a situation. Get that thirst, get that singular knock, and get that kill, right? Because one point, it could come down to it. We saw it with the second place in ALGS. Previous to this, we saw a team get third by 1 point, so that really could be a factor here. But we are going to see an engagement in the no man's land. That huge pump into that player too. We get 84 damage out of the PK back to back. This is going to be a 3v1 situation. The Spitfire coming into play as well. The Octane only 1 player down, and this is Team Elysium that I do believe broke top 6 in the previous matchup, but I believe that's a Valkyrie and a Gibraltar ult coming in, and our Gibby is now down.
Oh, the third party. You hate to see it. Elysium. The Octane's just going to try and shield cell with that gold shield. He might just have to get out. What amazing shots from that Gibby to take 2 down. But it looks like they're okay for now. The R9 shots will be huge from Octane. Already melting. The shield's off. Amazing movement, too. He's already down to health. And he will take him down. But he's going to get finished. Oh, hate to see it. Very good shots, though. And they will bub as they are getting now third party to taste their own medicine.
Yeah, we do see, I believe we did see that Gibraltar dome flicker once there, so we're going to wait for another flicker here, and the dome is going to go down. And we do see, of course, we have a team set up in the Dorito on the right-hand side. We have a couple teams in different huts here. Now, this is far more what we would see towards an end game of a traditional ALGS or a traditional APAC circle here. We see a lot of teams orbiting the same spot. It's almost like we had that first map reset to go ahead and get all these players through their jitters here. We might see a disconnect in the foreground, though. We see that red up and down on your left-hand side of your screen here. here. But
Yeah.
that is, again, just another one of the things. APAC in a COVID world, Apex in a COVID world here, you may see the disconnect.
Yeah. And R301 2 times. We love to see it. It's what us controller players do really
plants
love.
crave.
Yes, yes. Just that is just the great, like, if you find that, it's just like you're having the best day in Apex. And as they rotate on into the vault, the fight will subside for now, but in a crazy turn of events there, as we saw Elysium just totally roll a squad, but then the third party just comes in, a perfect third party by the other team, and just takes them out. The Octane, I believe, did get one down, but sad to see them die.
We have a pretty brave rotation from what I believe is another Revtane team. Actually, excuse me, that might be a Wraith right there with that Octane here. Yeah, we do see a Wraith Octane Bloodhound there in this building, but that was a pretty brave push to go ahead across the entire series of tracks right there. But again, another beautiful flyover courtesy of our observers here at CGL. So absolute, almost cinematography at its finest here. But on the other hand, we have the MKS roster kind of pressed behind enemy lines in the zone. I do happen to love a dot site myself, especially on the R9.
Yes.
We've got this Revtane team here again, and we saw this be very successful. This was, I believe, the Revtane team that won in No Man's Land on the respawn beacon for our first series of kills in our first match. So we definitely know that they're capable. And they've got a couple kills on board, 1 kill, 2 assists. So we know that that roster has at least 3 kills already.
Yeah, and they're going to see someone, and it looks like they are running in the same direction. A little bit out of ring here, but it is only ring 1, so not going to hurt too much. But the Octane, if he uses his stim, it's going to take a little bit of damage there. So going to pop the medkit to try and get it all back up, as they do have another team in front of them. 16 squads left, 46 people, as they will get a pad into the closest spot to ring. But they might have an enemy team close by here. And
Yeah, it looks like there may be a team gatekeeping them on a building a little bit forward to the right-hand side here. Of course, we have them on the streamer building in the center of the city. Looks like a team may have gone down in the foreground on the right-hand side over there, and they may have come back in. It looks like that's going to be the Phoenix player on Phoenix X IQ Master is going to be on the opposing side of the right-hand side with that gold armor, and it looks like he may be in engagement with a team on the streamer tower. But this zone, I would like to see if we can pull up that map for just a brief moment here and see if we can take a peek at that to see where the zone is going to pull, because this actually, again, is a fragment zone, which is not super traditional, especially that we're headed into ring 2 here, or that we're already in ring 2 here, headed to ring number 3. So this is a particularly unorthodox one. I think we're getting some pretty cool shakeups for our CGL tournament.
yeah, it's very cool. I mean, we see a little bit of fragment in, and it looks like we're going to pull it up here, and it's going to be a full fragment ring. Full fragment with 2 teams chilling on top of each other right now. Full fragment with a little bit of that unnamed place with the respawn beacon. No one knows what it's called, the little town, but a lot of fragment in. So we could see, like we said, those building final circles with a lot of teams, and already 2 teams on top of each other. But SFC in trouble here, as they are rezzing here, and it could be the end. But the Caustic Gas might save them. The ultimate.
Big.
The grenade,
That's
not going to hit. They will get
massive.
thirsted. Yeah. The battery comes off on the Gibby, and they are going to full heal here with the Caustic Gas. Can they get out, though? This was our number 1 team coming into this, and they already have a member down. And they're just going to walk out, I believe, and try to get out as safe as possible.
You know, as we swap through the players on this roster as well, we see a pretty minimal amount of damage. Caustic, I think, seriously, with no damage from gun. I believe 46 health damage he was taking on that player, thirsting his Valkyrie right there. But again, this is not the place you want to be if you're going to be the first seed moving into a tournament here. But an East and a West frag, I mean, Hal and Stay Naughty just woke up. Zach Mazur's rolling around in his bed, sweating, thinking about this specific zone here, because this would be a Cloud9 and TSM paradise, as these are the two places that these top rosters go ahead and drop on in the city here. But the frag grenade and the arc star, looks like the frag is going to stay in the hand. The arc star is going to go out. No impact on those players in the building, and Caustic trying to set up. But again, for those of you in the chat, you can use your Caustic Gas to obscure other players in gunfights here. So we have 2 pretty tanky guys in a building. This is a rough fight to take if you're going to try to ape this squad. Now, they are a player down, but whether the other rosters are aware of that or not is yet to be decided here. But a Caustic barrel on a door, you are able to break that, but Caustic, on the other hand, can pop that himself and give his team a bit of an advantage of course positioning himself in a building.
Yeah, so we see a little bit of Epic Center still in the ring there, but it's mostly going to be this fragment. We see a lot of teams here, and you got to be thinking maybe SFC is a little bit in their own head after this. They're trying to live up to the expectations of being the #1 team coming into this, and with already a member down, they need to perform here. And after that first game, and it looks like they might actually push here, as Amos's Suns, do they know that there's only two? And it's a Caustic and a Gibby. They are big, but it's going to be a little bit hard to push here.
Yeah, it looks like we did get the scan here, and Wraith is going to go for the trap
Oh.
block. That was massive. She's aware of the white shielded Caustic, but I believe that's going to be a devotion in the hands of that Caustic, and we see the absolute bullet slaughterfest come out of that, just popping holes in the sides of the Wraith here, but that's going to be back on board with Analox, the Wraith, swapping over to Leon, the Octane, on that same team as well. Now, they are aware, so that Wraith was able to give some kind of feedback, right? Apex has incredible ambient communication, so not only do we get the visceral effect of the white armor cracking, but we are able to communicate to our team that that's a white armor. So now they know that they are way stacked against what looks to be two players, and the opposing team has an armor deficiency. This could shape up to be a very easy, quick pick for the Amos' Suns.
I just think that this team is thinking right now that if they take this fight, they're going to get thirded, no matter what. And it's going to be a Caustic Gibby, so you're going to lose a decent chunk of your health. But I believe they think they're going to get thirded if they take this, even though they know that I believe they know that it's two, but they might go for it here as the scan comes out from a different side. So we'll have to see on that, as MKS has successfully rotated here into this market slot, but both of them are already low. One already down, and two down now. MKS only down to one member. And it looks like he's just going to get out. He's going to go for placement here as the Octane just dips. And that was so quick, and they just get run over. And two members gone, and the Octane will be the only one left alive.
Yeah, we have to talk about objective efficiency in that right there. That Gibraltar, again, I would like to get your criticism as a Gibraltar main here, because Gibraltar's one of my characters, but I think you play him at a far higher tier than I do. I believe that bubbing forward right there that he was able to use to force that player, he trapped him. So he couldn't do any damage to him outside. His teammates couldn't even do damage to that Gibraltar. I think seriously one little poot of bullets out of that R99 hit that Gibraltar's gun shield. I don't believe he took any incoming damage right there. That looked to be a very high tier engagement from that Gibraltar.
That was a super amazing bubble. Mostly, a lot of people always think that you should always use your bubble defensively, and you usually should, but in those fights, that was such a perfect bubble. He, like you said, he trapped him in it, so he can't shoot out of it, and his only choice is either walk back or fight forward to the Gibby, and he's already cracked, and the Gibby has purple and an arm shield, so you're not winning that. So he tries and fights it, and he loses, and a very, very good bubble, and but we do have to notice that the Octane just gets out, so could be getting placement points from that, but sometimes it is better to fight with your team, even though maybe it was a 3v1, maybe he could have done something.
It's one of the difficult things about Apex too, is like you have to know if you're fighting an uphill battle. Sometimes you have to commit to it, right? I mean, even if you're going to lose, do you commit to losing better than losing worse, right? I mean, you have to pick some of those battles here. We do see Gibraltar bombardment on an opposing dome now, whether that is their ult or an opposing team's ult here.
Oh, it's a dome
we're gonna
fight.
Have two bub fights. So we do see this team on top. The charge rifle third party is coming into play, absolutely griefing those Fat Boy characters that we are going to see. Now, we already see blood as well, so there is no shields on that Gibraltar right now. The Wraith is taking the TP back. It looks like that wasn't a kidnap. That was going to be a retreat, and they are gone and dusted. They have backed out here. A very wise retreat headed back towards the city here, as we do see where the zone's rotating. It looks like they're going to choose to opt for a wide wrap here as opposed to a very confrontational wrap. But the great news is this is shaping up to be far more of a professional tier series of rounds here. Is look how many teams are left. We usually see about 10 here. We usually see about 15 in a true APAC ALGS World Championship. So to see these players with this many rosters and this many full rosters still, this is shaping up to be far more high tier than casual.
Yeah, so the ring, actually, if we take a look at that, is going to be just a crazy... I bet it threw all of the players here off. I bet everyone was thinking here that it's going to rotate fragment. As we see Grandpa Family just get a little bit low here, he's going to have to drop that bubble, but the ring is not where anyone expected. So all of these teams that are in Fragment are going to have to all go at once to this one side of the ring. So I believe it's going to be that mountain side that anybody that's holding that already has such a good position, and all these other teams, it's going to just be a bloodbath trying to get in that edge of ring. And we see that there are so many teams just waiting there, and it is going to be a little bit of that train tracks, a little bit of that mountain. So we will see where it has to go from here, but Outsiders Gaming in a little bit of a fight here.
Outsiders Gaming, though, with a really big pick right there. I believe that was a Thirst on a downed player. We see 360 damage on the POV of this player, Dios14, that's going to be on board here. And then we swap over to his teammate, Exterminator here. That's going to be our Valkyrie. Now, I've really been interested to see some of the teams that are running a Valkyrie and an Octane, because you have double rotation. That's a pretty AP team, but it does look like we're going to see only 2 players attached to that ultimate here. I'm not sure if that was an entire roster, and we played a little bit of one man left behind here, maybe to tank some damage here, if this was a split roster. Now this player's going to land on the train tracks and try to fend for themselves, but they are not going to make it. That Valkyrie was DOA and unfortunately was taken out as this final zone is closing. This is going to be a lot of rats and a lot of last second desperate running here, and this is pretty much going to be every man for himself.
Oh no, I hate to see it. But what happened there was the Valkyrie gets so damaged that she's already down to like maybe 50, maybe 25 health, and the ultimate can't go off without her. So they just have to leave the other teammate behind, and they just say see ya, and the Valkyrie ends up dying for it. So just like we're seeing in the kill feed, we had 12 teams. We're gonna watch as all these teams trying to rotate in. You just see the kill feed just blowing up with teams already dying from this outside of this ring.
And we saw in the foreground there that player that was going to be Leon, I believe, was in the foreground here with that red armor, and he was going to be broken. We have a player into Flesh as well. That Malati was one of those players as well that I wanted to keep eyes on there. I believe that may have been on Bochek Republic, but it looks like the Hemlock is going to come in for a shred. They are going to get that knock. The R301 player is able to clean up in the background, but it's exactly as you had referred to, Llama. We definitely see a lot more ultimates coming in. We're seeing a lot more bubble fighting and a lot more rosters. We had started with 12 in the circle down to 6, and we are headed to our last and final zone before the entire game will be engulfed in the circle here. So we should see this break down to about our top 3 within the next 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, so just a note, we were just at 12 squads before this ring closed. We are now at 6. So that is how many teams were in that fragment trying to rotate in. Just got stuck there, and this ring is not going to be favorable to really anybody. It has a little bit of train track, it has a little bit of that building into it, but other than that, it is mostly open. It's got a little bit of pods, but even that team on that mountain that has such good position now, it will close on them eventually, and it's going to be an interesting ring because a lot of teams are going to die here before the final one.
And we're going to be on board with, I believe that was Sweaty's POV that we had for just a moment there, but we're going to be on board with Apocalypto from Valor here. And Valor was able to get at least top 5 in both of our previous matches here, so showing that they're definitely not just for show, but that team is going to be stuck in the house, and they are going to have to run out directly into gunfire. 2 players were shredded. The player is going to be bubbing forward here, but the Gibraltar is going to be taken down as the zone is going to engulf them. That Ring was going to take them, and that Wraith stuck a res that she did not need to take, but that Gibraltar's going to throw his loot out into the opposing zone, potentially hoping to grief an opposing team here. And we're on board with Zach Lightman now from Razaniro, who is going to try to stay alive behind the truck here. Not necessarily an easy thing to do, and he's going to be caught in the zone, wisely backing around the truck here, but he is going to need to play this as quietly as possible. He has a player who's down, and he's going to try to grief that player in front of him, but a little too overeager of a push gets him cut down.
And it looks like Valor actually has a Kraber with them too, I believe, if I saw that right. So they will be holding on all of the tools. They have this little rock. So 2 teams cut out of that last ring. Kill leader right here with Apocalypto. The Gibby, 5 kills with at least 2 assists, at least 7 kill points already in the top 4. This is shaping up to be a huge game for them right now. And really good shields on them too. Red, purple, purple. And this final ring, 30 seconds until close. In 2.5 minutes, we will know our winner of game 1.
Yeah, this is a big comp that you would see pretty traditionally here as well. You've got that Gibby, the Octane for the rotations, and Bloodhound for information. You kind of really see that Bloodhound Gibby stack pretty traditionally. The Octane can be changed out for a Valkyrie. Sometimes you'll see some passive teams play with a Caustic, for instance, but this is a really relatively traditional comp here, and I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to do much with this Octane as this zone closes. They're pretty much going to be able to use the bounce pad to rotate in, and that's going to pretty much use all character utility from that Octane, so we'll be down to a player that can't really do do too much here, but we do see a team wipe in the foreground there as
Oh.
well. Gibraltar and his teammate trying to get some picks here. I think about 30 damage came off. He had 56 damage left on his armor here, so we're down to that 24 here, and we may see that red as well. He's going for maybe an optic on that 301, but he's got his bruiser, so I feel like a controller player's having a good day.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And Valor Esports, they have honestly really, really good position. They have these nice pods that they can get a little bit of head peek over. They have a team on low ground there, but we will have to see where it closes to. And a Kraber shot in the feed. Someone just getting headshotted there. So you're going to lose a member, and most likely, and the bub is wasted there. And I believe it's only going to be 2 members able to survive that, as one of them is still down. Oh, but one of the members of Valor Esports already so low. The Gibby down, though. Huge trades from all sides. Valor Esports still maybe the best position. EVA shots will finish, but is it enough? Valor Esports down to just health. Will he get the shield swap up? He won't. The EVA shots will come out on the Gibby.
Huge.
And, oh, wow. And Carnage.
That was a very difficult fight there. I would have liked to see the bubble on that Octane to deny the ability for that Bloodhound to challenge, because that Octane was trying to pop a heal in that gunfight there. I think that Gibraltar wasted his dome a little bit there towards the end, unfortunately, and then we didn't see that armor swap set up either. We could have opened that box, tossed the swap, and then gone for that challenge against that Gibraltar, but that became down to a Gibby versus Gibby. I mean, let's talk about meta, and that's as meta as it gets, Mr. Gibraltar main.
Yeah, it was a fantastic fight. I mean, they win the fight, so they do get top 2. They don't take first, so they do lose 3 points off of that and a couple kill points, but they do still get a really, really good fight. They finish off the other team, and then the EVA shots just weren't enough. I thought he was gonna go for the armor swap. His shots were actually a lot better, but he just didn't have any shield. So they both had an arm shield, and the other guy had red, so it was like not really anything he could do. He had a whole extra 125 health. His shots were really good, but if he had made that swap, the armor swap in that box, maybe. But it was a very good attempt and a good kill on the others, but just not enough from the third party from the other team.
Absolutely, but a crazy great showing out of all the teams in the roster, especially those top 5s. You love to see that Kraber come into play. The Kraber is definitely up for debate in meta, whether or not it's a skillful weapon, especially in the hands of a controller. I think at long range it's very difficult, but when you get to that 2x4 range, it's almost a hit scan gun, so it can be very, very powerful in the right hands. But guys, we are going to cut to a quick break here while we get lobby number 2 set up. But of course, before we do, Llama, thank you for being my co-caster today, and we have to give a shout out, of course, to our wonderful observers that we have here at CGL, and also for funding that prize pool. So guys, we're going to get game number 2 lobbied up for you, and we're going to work with production so we can give you a firm answer on the top 3 teams moving forward into game number 2. Llama and I will be right back with you. Don't go anywhere.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to CGL. Back from our short break. Here we are. Llama joined along with Dragonite, back for game number 2 of our 4-game series here today for our CGL June Major. And we should have replays and a leaderboard coming from last game here soon. And here it is, the leaderboard.
Wow.
As we see Carnage coming in. And it is already really tight at the top, but Carnage, 20 points, Valor Esports, 19, Grandpa and Family at 15. So very well done. We see Bochek Republic, the team that won that first part of our first game that didn't count, coming in fourth. So with that strong mentality, keeping it going here, and we see them take some good points. Anything you notice about this?
Yeah, I'm just seeing that the Bochek Republic team that did play so strong in their first match, that does tell me, especially with the Amos Suns as well, they were up there as well. I think Valor Esport was 6th place in our first match that we had to redo there. Yeah. So it does show me, Elysium as well breaking top 10, that a lot of the teams that made it through into that top 6, top 5 in the previous matchup, that was not by chance. They made it there based on game skill and awareness here. And so we're seeing a lot of repetition of names inside the top 10 in a good way. We're going to be able to see some replays here on board from some of the clutch plays. The Revtane team coming in very clutch right here, and the Thirst coming in quickly as well. Again, shout out to our observers and our production team here at CGL.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job here today. It's really great to just be able to actually like see great, awesome gameplay, and you know, with those like crypto drone style cinematic awesome viewpoints are just super amazing. And this was amazing. Elysium, like, huge shots, but the third party is just so unfortunate. They showed really good skill, so we'll have to see maybe if they get a luckier draw, that if their gun skill can actually be put to a final ring here. And we'll just see, we're seeing more replays as of our previous game.
Yeah, there's a lot to take note of here. Again, for those of you that are joining us in the chat and maybe Apex fans, but maybe not necessarily so inundated into the competition scene, this was a massive play right here because this is the
Oh
bubble
yeah.
fight I was talking about. They trap the Bloodhound in the bubble, so nobody can steal the kill from behind. The Gibby isolates that Bloodhound who's already broken into flesh into a 2v1 in that engagement, and the Octane who's already down is just forced to get out of there. I believe he was able to
Oh
wrap
yeah.
for some points, but here's our Valkyrie flyover
Oh.
as well. That third teammate was alive, and it pretty much was a do or die. They needed to ult, and they pretty much used that Gibraltar as a scapegoat, but they weren't really able to do much with that rotation either. So there's some clutch gameplay here, and there's also a lot of things to note that were kind of some throwaway fights here.
Yeah, you hate to see it. The Valk lands and gets instantly killed, and then the Bloodhound pads, and then it just gets like shot by 4 teams out of the air. So, but as it's closing, like we said, all of those teams from Fragment had to rotate through this kind of smaller ring, and it ended up like killing a lot of teams off this rotate. And Valor Esports goes and takes this short one. We see that Octane just try and int and get maybe 1 kill, try for pride, but he ends up getting nothing. And there's
Wow.
the Kraber shot from actually our team winners, Carnage. And we see Apocalypto get some really nice shots. I feel like he could have shield swept there, but he ends up losing that fight. The dome was right next to the box, so possibly could have got a shield swap off. But you know, if we always think about what we could have done, we'll never get anything done. So really good shots from him. But Carnage, our champions of our first game, congrats to them. 20 points, a huge lead coming into game number 2 here.
Absolutely. And that hindsight point is such a big thing to think about here, especially if you're a competitor. I mean, if you're competing across any esport title, you often get paired with those players to go, well, you could have done this and I could have done this. And if this would have happened, and man, that is not the right headspace to go into. You're only 25% done with this tournament. If you're breaking yourself off at the ankles in the first match, you are setting yourself up for a lot of difficult matches moving ahead. Now, retrospective thought is a great way to improve gameplay, but I think maybe necessarily in the middle of a tournament, you can head case a little bit too much. We see that with TSM. We've seen that with Cloud9, right? We've seen that with a lot of the high tier rosters, that is the grief that their players give them. It's please don't beat me up during this game. We see it with Diff, Zippeth, and Shiv in the solo queue goats. That Diff is a brilliant player, but often a little bit too rough in the middle of games. And so that can play a factor, right? It's not all about gun skill.
Yeah, and it's just like you don't. I've played my share of ranked, and obviously know that there are the teammates that are going to just like attack you, and you don't want to play with that. You just want to be like, you want to say, well, just okay, maybe next time you could have shield swapped, but that was still amazing, great shots. You won us that other fight and got us top 2. So we take that in the next game and maybe learn from that, because he does drop the shield, drop the dome shield close to the box, but like you can't think in hindsight. If everybody like thought in hindsight there, everything would have been different in that match, and like nobody would have pushed like anything. So you just got to focus on what you did good and keep encouraging yourselves that even if you didn't win that final fight, you still got really good points. I believe 19 points from the second place team, and you still have a chance, and you got this. Still 3 games left.
And that 19 to 20 point discrepancy, we talked about it. I alluded to it a little bit earlier that I would have liked to see some players thirst a kill or two. It's kind of like if you're going to fall forward rather than fall back, right? And that 1 point discrepancy right there, that could have tied our second place team with our Carnage Gaming here. So we would like to see them do that moving forward here. There's definitely an opportunity for these teams to kind of close the gap. Now, we're only 1 game in, and we're headed into game number 2. It looks like we are getting these players lobbied up. But what is a sentiment, Llama, that you want to carry, right? You've competed in a lot more Apex than I have. I've had the opportunity to cast, but not to compete like you have. What is a sentiment that you want to carry into this game if you're one of these teams that already played well? What are you going to focus on moving forward?
Confidence is the biggest thing. No matter what place you are, you gotta have confidence. Think you are better than every single other person in the lobby. You can't go in doubting yourself. You just have to think, even if you're in 20th place, you have to think, I am better than every other team. I am going to win every single fight, because confidence is a huge, huge thing that could boost you through the entire tournament.
Keeping that mental strong is going to be something that's so impactful, because you can have the best gun skill, and if you're afraid to take a gunfight,
Oh yeah.
That doesn't really help your team in any regard. Now we're on board with Shifty Taken. This was a team that I had actually watched. They had played in a DreamHack qualifier for a 10K, and I believe they did end up making it through into the 10K. So they broke the top
Awesome.
10 teams in one of the matches there. So they were able to go ahead and play in the 10K towards the end of July. So one of the teams definitely to keep eyes on. It looks like we're going to have 2 players stack into Thermal, and we're going to have one go to the No Man's Land on the left-hand side on the Beacon building here to kind of split off and make sure that loot isn't degraded by the amount of players that are landing here. And it looks like they are uncontested as well, so this should give them a pretty great loot density to go ahead and pick through early game.
Yeah, and we see this from G2 landing in Thermal, and they land spread out. They land spread out so they can. It's a very risky play to land spread out, but you get a lot more loot, you get a lot more info, and a lot more of map control. So they spread out a little bit, but they get a lot more out of it. And we are back on RCM here in this countdown, which it looks like they are contested again.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you and I had been worried about previously was whether or not these teams were going to be contested off drop. Now, again, you see, I keep alluding to the C9 and TSM particularly because they often drop in fragment, or they always drop in fragment together. So you see a lot of early game skirmishes. You often see KNG drop market as well, and then you see a lot of that. But they call that 50-50 because if you're able to contest a team off a drop, we've talked about how loot can be so beneficial for one team and not for the other. We do see both of these teams, though. It looks like they are going to be white shielded for both of these rosters here. So nobody really got much great loot, but that meta Eva is going to come into play as well. Looks like that Gibraltar running a very interesting loadout with a 30-30 and an Eva there. So 2 single fire weapons there. The Eva with the blue bolt, though, is going to be deadly in the hands of any bubble team because they're able to force a close combat, high damage output fight.
Yeah, and you see that somewhat. It's kind of an interesting thing to run, but a couple pro Gibbies do it. Resulta, a really famous pro Gibby, he will run G7 and a shotgun, and he won't be the first person in the fight. He'll be the last person in the fight. He'll be sniping with his G7, putting in shots, and then he'll go up and bub, and then he'll have that shotgun to put in that work. Now, it doesn't give you an automatic, but it does give you a lot of versatility if you stay in the back of the fight.
And I would argue almost that the Eva is abusable to a point that we can joke that is a pseudo automatic, right? You can fire that thing so fast with that 68 pump. I think 86 is max damage output if every pellet hits. So I mean, talk about the amount of shots in the clip rather, and the ability to do high damage output, especially with a character with a gun shield. If you get ADS by a Gibby with a shotgun, that's pretty much all she wrote, unless you're another Gibby ADSing with a shotgun. But look at this zone again. We're getting a top right-hand zone pull here again. This is going to be centering on a particularly interesting part here, and it looks like there is going to be a team that was landing Trials this time. Outside of Trials, none of those shots from this player on the Octane POV is going to connect here. I'm going to double check, but I'm trying to figure out the name for that, but that is going to be the Octane 4 Valor Esports. Now, we're going to swap POVs over to another team here, RCM, as they're rotating out towards, it looks like the Harvester here.
Yeah, and an interesting thing you saw, a lot of players might not know what that Octane was doing, but he was aiming his grenades upwards. So that's called arcing your grenades. So when they land, it won't give the player an actual chance to escape it. And it's a very interesting strategy, but the PK shot will be huge. And they are in a fight here, and Valor Esports just clean, very, very clean. And will take a full fight, get the armor swaps off, and all 3 members still alive as they will get the res off.
And once again, that's Apocalypto. That was that second place player that we had seen that POV from that red armor, or that red fight in the previous POV there. He died right outside of Epicenter towards No Man's Land at that in-between here. And I appreciate that he chose not to use the bubble in this specific engagement here, because in case they do get aped after this res, he is going to be able to throw that bubble here. But we're going to see that door fight, right, that we see a lot in current Apex. Nobody's willing to give an inch here, so they're each going to go ahead and try to block the door so they can try to force some kind of weird engagement. We do see the bubble inside, making it so if you're going to attack this team, you need to step into Gibby's domain. And once again, I'm not standing up against anybody who can do a Haka that well.
Yeah, it's a smart bubble, but they're gonna get shot a little bit from behind, and bam, and already a kill down from ALA Hades, and the R301s from the Bloodhound are huge, and they're gonna push as 3. They are trapped in this building. Will they be able to get them? The master shots are huge, comes from behind, and this looks like it is going to be 1 down from ALA Hades, 2v1, and they will get the bleed out. Very well done, very clean, pushing in from both sides. The flanks huge from Gibby and Octane, and they will take a 3v3 fight.
You know, I was a little disappointed with some of the fight in there. We saw that player that got
Hmm.
down on the left-hand side of the door, and we did see Gibraltar go for the thirst on that player. Now, whether that was just a little bit of bullet spread in the heat of battle there is a potential that it was that. I like Bloodhound hiding in this cheeky spot with his Phoenix kit. He's got to have that whole 10-second heal time right there. But I would have liked to see that Gibraltar focus shot priority a little bit more on the other Gibby. His
Hmm.
teammate wouldn't have gone down had he not done 80 damage to that downed player. So I think
Yes.
that they would have, if they had gotten third party, that they could have been a man up just in
Hmm.
case there. And when you're playing for money, you want to make sure you have every single tool in your belt is sharpened to its full utility here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Elysium last game. Like, they had a really good fight, amazing fight, and then they just got third partied. And like that member being up can be whether you win or lose a fight. If you can get that shield swap off, a res takes 5 seconds, and that's a lot of time in a fight if a team is
Mm-hmm.
pushing you.
5 seconds of a Gibby ult, that's sudden death.
Yeah. So we have some long range here from SFC, our number one team coming in. Hasn't showed up too hard yet, but we'll see if this game they can bring it back. We have a little bit of smaller squads, 15 squads as the ring is closing, so we could be and the ring, it looks like teams are already setting up for it. It's going to be outside of this epicenter ring. It's this little small town up here as we see a fight coming out from Bocek.
That bubble from that Gibby is going to be absolutely massive, tanking that for his Octane. Now, whether or not that portal is going to be something that comes into play or not, I do like that they wisely bubbled on that portal because if somebody's going to send through that, right, they're not going to get third-partied in the back. And if some player is dumb enough to engage them in a three-man fight, even with some health down, they're not going to be losing that fight. Now, that was one of the players I did want to look at. I believe that player is going to be Mega Tutty. That's that Bloodhound that was on the Bocek Republic here. And that was the Bloodhound that made it across in our first match before our replay here. That was the Bloodhound that made it all the way across the train tracks there. And so this was also our sixth place team from the previous matchup. And obviously there was no luck if they were able to win and then get a sixth place here. They belong in that top 10. So this team Bocek is going to absolutely be massive throughout this tournament based on what we've seen from them.
Yeah, and we see so many teams already setting up. Like you said, Bocek are here to play, and they are here for the money. We will see how the rest of their tournament goes, but this is going to be another kind of packed ring. There is a lot of ground in this ring, a lot of rocks, different elevation. There are 3 or 4 different buildings that they can hold, and this train tunnel. 3 or 4 teams can sit in this train tunnel, so it is going to be a pretty crazy one, but as just one team right now is holding it, if they can hold this train tunnel all to themselves, it could be really good high ground looking down on all these buildings. But we will see, as it looks like they might be getting into a fight here as another team enters the train tunnel, and it is Valor Esports with Apocalyptic.
And we are going to be on board with that Octane. Now, we saw this Hemlock already be absolutely brutal for this player. Now, the Hemlock has even received a nerf in close combat for its hipfire. It played very close to the Prowler, which was shelved for a care pack here. So they did have to nerf that Hemlock a little bit. We saw, I believe, Season 7 was kind of our Hemlock meta. And then the Spitfire ended up coming out as well. But it looks like this Octane is still going to employ that. And you've got a very versatile gun here. You have close combat to mid-combat burst fire, and then you can also single fire for your long range here. And of course, again, in the hands of a controller player, you have that 0.6 aim assist on a console. So that is going to be absolutely deadly. And Octane coupled with a gold shield is just an absolutely brutal combo here. So there's a potential for a huge damage output from this player.
And it's honestly a smart choice. I mean, a lot of people will just, whoever gets the gold shield first will take it, but that Octane, for how much health he loses per needle he uses on his stim, it's really smart to have that gold shield on him. And just like, he's going to be the first one in a fight, so he's going to be the first one to be cracked, and a gold shield with that shield cell healing 2 times as much is just so huge for the Octane, honestly. And it's a very smart choice that maybe some people wouldn't notice, but very smart from this team.
I agree with that. You see a lot of players with Octane in a kind of a low tier or a casual tier aping way too quickly, full sending into fights. But Octane is a great character in a poke and prod battle because Octane's able to get into a gunfight, mess up a lot of players, and stim right back out of the gunfight to go back up and heal. So couple that with a quick heal on a gold armor, you can be incredibly obnoxious. Octane kind of fills that role that we would have seen from a Pathfinder in seasons 1 through 3. And so that's a great way to use that versatility. The pad is also very beneficial now that we don't see as many Wraith portals given that they die in the zone. So definitely a cool meta switch up in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the Octane. I feel though like the pads are honestly pretty easy to track. So like Wraith Portal, you have invulnerability even if they do die in ring. But like, I mean, an Octane pad, it's gonna get you where you want to go really fast. And I believe, I don't know if it's still in, but season 8, season 7, I believe there was like a sound glitch where if you rev padded off a off an Octane pad, it just wouldn't do any sound at
Yes,
all.
sir.
So you just wouldn't hear it, and a full rev team would just land on you, and you're just dead. So I don't know if that's still in, but that's possibly. I mean, you want to use everything that's in the game. So if there is this thing where you can't hear a full team landing on you, you're gonna use it because you want to be that full team that lands on them without them hearing you.
Absolutely, use and abuse it, because every other team that knows that there's a paycheck on the line courtesy of CGL is going to do exactly the same thing. Now, we have a pretty defensive team here. We saw this last time, win for the money. This was our Caustic and Gibby team we saw in West Fragment that ended up dying towards a Dorito here, that they got pushed by, I believe, Bocek, actually, in the last matchup here. It may have actually been cleaned up, however, by Grandpa and family. But regardless here, that is going to be a more defensive team. They are stuck up on the jungle gym, and we're going to see a couple of these teams, one fighting in the Dorito and one set up in the hut outside. We're going to have the two story. And so again, I'm curious to see some of the rosters here. It looks like we see a Valkyrie in there again. So we're seeing a little bit more of the rotation-based teams survive later into this game. By Zone 3 in the previous one, I believe we only had 12 teams, and I think we still have 13 if I'm not mistaken here. So only one extra team surviving, but definitely a lot more movement utility making it through into this round.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are a couple of the Rev teams didn't want to continue with the Rev because it's a good tool to have, but I mean late game, if someone knows where your Rev totem is, they can just sit at the back of it. When you get sent back, they can just sit there and kill you all. And like being super aggressive, it works, but getting third partied and everything, it just is not worth it. So we will see them switching over to more of a Valkyrie Octane type meta, and hopefully it works for them. If it doesn't, they might have to change it again. But these teams switching, seems like switching more off of aggressive comps and going more to the EU style like we've seen.
Yeah, that's a really, really big point to hold right there. That the EU style, again, for those of you that weren't here for the beginning of the tournament, we discussed kind of the discrepancy between EU and the NA style. And the NA playstyle heavily favors gun skill, and it seems more so favoring gun skill kind of at all ranges, whereas EU is often zone-based. So you'll see EU teams rotate into zones, and NA teams often pick to take gunfights on the zone edge here, as opposed to being center of zone early. So this is shaping up to be a lot more EU. It shows that these players are watching a lot of the EU tournaments and a lot more of the players in their region, more so than we saw in the first matchup here. A little bit brave, though, from this Valkyrie to be using a gold magged wingman with no hop-up attachment, so no gunslinger, able to rotate that gun in and out of the inventory very quickly, which is a great versatility option for the wingman there, especially considering that the Skull Piercer has now been shelved and incorporated into the gun. So we are going to see some flesh damage, though, out of the opposing Valkyrie, sitting in the two-story here, looking to fight this team that's sitting in the Dorito.
Yeah, and I feel like we've seen just the wingman just fall out of the meta, honestly, for guns. I mean, it's still got good, decent, mid, long range poke potential, but it doesn't seem like it has that, like, kick that it usually has, where you've seen those, like, pro players make those crazy, like, 3v1s with just a wingman close range. It doesn't feel like it has that anymore without the Skull Piercer. I mean, it can be pulled out fast, but I don't know. Tell me what you think on that.
I mean, absolutely. I think the wingman was an incredibly versatile and skill-based weapon, but let's talk about the 2x scope on a charge rifle in the hands of a controller Gibraltar. That is a fearsome thing. You can't even peek me. I'm going to take 50 incoming damage with very little bleed through. I'm going to be able to hit you with a hit scan gun at aim assist range and be able to just farm that damage. I would like to see this Gibraltar do exactly that. I would like to see him swap shields with his teammates here. I'd like to see him break purple and make sure his team gets leveled up here, because he's pretty much invulnerable if he's able to get some quick peak shots of damage here. Now, we do see this one player that is going to be under the silos here, rotating towards this three-man team that's going to be inside here. Now, they are three-stacked, and while I agree being able to take a three-stack gunfight is very important here, they're a little trapped if we're going to see a caustic ult, any flame grenades, kind of any area denial utility that could be coming in is going to be very detrimental to that team, but that is one of the things we start to see this late into the tournament as we're headed into our zone at number 4.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of a really interesting zone. We thought it was going maybe a little bit different, but I think it's going down towards this factory side and up on this mountain by Epicenter, I believe. And I believe the mountain may be the best spot, but if this factory building stays in, it has really, really nice height. It has really, really nice angles if you're on the top of it to look into it. So we'll see where it goes from here, but a lot of these teams packing into this factory spot and a lot of these teams on the hillside. So we'll see where it actually goes and which teams it favors.
And this is a lot closer to some of the ALGS, APAC, the EMEA, a lot of these formats that you'll see in the larger scale tournaments here. As exactly as you had said, we've got all of these teams now stacked into the buildings. I mean, we made a joke about it during game number 1, but it's going to get significantly more clustered the later we get into this tournament series, as these teams aren't willing to forego their lives to maybe get 1 kill, to maybe get 2 kills, to maybe get 50-50'd off of a specific spot. So we're going to see 4 Caustics hold hands and start a conga line inside one building, nobody willing to fight each other and everybody crouching behind individual Caustic canisters, right? I mean, I make a joke to a point there, but you're going to see a lot of players holding and sharing objectives because nobody's really willing to give either team an inch, and every angle is covered by another team. Case in point, we have a 3v3, we have a Gibraltar in the dome. They were self-doming, it looks like, in order to block some of that incoming damage, but we are going to see this Apocalypto player and his team of Team Valor have to push back into the train cart. Now, this is a great spot, although a lot vulnerable from different angles here, but this is a great spot that you want to be because you have top-down cover. So if a Gibraltar ult is going to come into play, you don't necessarily need to use your bubble here. You also have defined zones that players are able to enter and exit through. So if you're able to control this, albeit it's still kind of a small area with a lot of holes in it, you're still able to control a pretty integral part of the map, and they're going to be able to walk right into the zone based off of where they are.
Yeah, and we see this ring 4 now. So this is kind of an insane zone. It's one I have really honestly never played before. It's got these 3 small buildings. It's got a little bit of the factory height, which is going to be really good for ring 4, but really bad for ring 5. Because you're going to be on height for a little bit. And we see a fight here from Raza, and the Eva shots are going to be good, but will they be good enough? As he is already pretty hurt here, just trying to take some G7 shots, but the Gibby is going to go down, cannot get out of it. It'll just be the Valkyrie looking, and the Valkyrie might be dead here as down to Flesh as the ring is going to close. The Gibby all going to come down, and it looks like they will get the res off as Valkyrie just chilling on health here.
Now, we saw earlier this Valkyrie was struggling to heal. This was one of the teams, this was that near the Gibraltar team. They were peeking the 2-story. This was the team that was inside the Dorito here. We are going to see the 1v1, but Rojo is going to fall, and they had very, very little heals. Gibraltar barely in that zone there and still able to survive. We do see the flame grenades going off here. The Bloodhound is slowly ticking downwards at 25 damage. That Bloodhound may fall. It looks like he's going to. The Caustic ult is going to come in as well. The Gibraltar is trying to get a heal off, and it looks like they are going to be from the same team, but somebody is going to get that pick onto the Gibraltar. The 2 1v1s come in, and that team that was stacking inside the factory was able to get their victory in there, but they are going to be trapped inside the zone and are going to be forced to tank a little bit of damage to rotate back out. But we do have a new team holding this Dorito here, and based on the zone rotation, I'm going to forecast that this is going to go out towards the truck here, because as we've seen with a lot of these zones and a lot of the rotations here, Respawn heavily favors buildings until zone 4 or 5, and then when the zone closes, we'll see it start to favor open space to go ahead and close out this match. So a lot of these Gibraltar Caustic teams are going to fare very, very well, considering their defensive abilities now that we head into our final series of fights.
This is gonna be such an insane ring. 3 whole buildings left. The high ground is gonna be out from sorting, so there's gonna be those 3 teams that are gonna have to come in. But there is all this low ground too. In the buildings, they can't see under. We already see a team down to their right under them, and like, just there's gonna be so many teams packed in here, so many angles that you can't watch with just 3 players. The doors are already gone in this building, and that's a huge thing to have, is doors. People underestimate them, but it can block a Caustic ult, it can block a single grenade, it can block a lot of things, and they're gonna start seeing some other stuff here, and they might go for this fight early, but and that is our 2 squads. SFC, our #1 team coming in, still alive here, and we'll see if their gun skill gets to go through, and they're trying to shoot through the tiny little cracks here.
Now, I really liked that grief that we saw. It didn't really look like much here, but in the hands of the Gibraltar on SFC, he was intentionally griefing the bounce pad that the opposing team was trying to use to rotate out into that next zone here. So that was going to be absolutely massive. Now, we're going to get to see a lot of mass exodus from some buildings here, and this Caustic is going to come into play in a very, very big way here, because not only is that zone going to tick you, the Caustic gas is going to slow you. On the other hand, we have outsiders below with the armor swap setup, and they do have access to what looks to be that purple death box on the opposing side here. We see the Octane potentially trying to loot through that as well. The R301 unscoped in the hands of the Gibraltar. We see a player in Flesh, 2 players falling in the background, already a squad wipe. We're at 9, now down to 7 already. More players falling in the kill feed as well. This is going to be an absolute slaughter fest, but I think the Caustic Gibraltar teams here that already hold this Dorito are going to favor very, very well until this true end zone.
I think Outsiders is in a really good spot, honestly. They have the ring to their backside, and they have a lot of cover from this building. So we'll see as teams are falling left and right in the kill feed. 6 squads now. All squads are at full 3 stack. You aren't going to get an easy fight as there's a team behind the rock. The ring is fully closed. We lose, I believe, 3 more teams on that rotate of that ring. And 6 teams trying to fight for the win in our game 2 here. And it will be our final ring here. Ring number 6, and we will see the buildings inside are going to be highly contested, and we will see what team will be able to hold them the best.
You know, one of the most important things to note here, we see a couple players with their health down, and actually, of course, you always see players trying to heal their shields, right, every single time. Honestly, healing your shields at this point is not necessarily the best utility you have, because the zone, the caustic, right, all of these different utilities, but it looks like the Wraith is going to get hit by the flame grenade and barely get the battery off and be able to tank that little bit of damage, but the grenades come in. That's going to be Leon tanking that Arcstar right there, trapped in the corner. The portal could allow another team to go ahead and press them at any opportunity here. That Wraith doesn't look like they have flesh. It does look like they were eventually able to heal the Gibraltar team with the death boxes. You see the flesh heals also on the ground here, so they are going to have a lot of heals in their arsenal here. Now, we do see only 1 red armor here. Not a lot of damage done by a lot of teams, but this gold armor here is going to be very important, especially if these teams are going to be forced to take any kind of chunk damage from the ring. Now, again, as I had said, the buildings were going to be very favored in that zone 5, but headed into this final round here, Respawn does favor the open fields to try to go ahead and close the game out in terms of damage rather than having the zone close on players. So the players in the truck are going to have the ability to walk out as slow as possible, but we are going to start seeing some fights here with this last minute and 30 seconds as this zone is going to close.
Yeah, the bubble is wasted on the top of the roof, if you notice, so the Gibby are already prepared by different teams. And when that bubble goes down, they're going to shred huge R9 shots from MKS, and then a Mastiff comes out from his teammate to kill him, and they are just in such a good spot on the back of this train yard as mayhem is going to ensue. A Gibby going to be perfect as 2 teams are fighting on top. One gets finished. You got to go for those thirst. The kills on the ground are still counted as kills, and huge Spitfire shots already, but the Wraith is going to go down here from MKS. MKS going to get some more Mastiff shots here. Outsiders Gaming on the top of this building with 1 down. It looks like actually it was the thirst. So they get a free kill. Gibby will res.
And it does look like that the Gibby ult that we did see hit towards Outsider Gaming was actually a complete waste. It whiffed on the side of the building, and it looks like that Gibraltar and the Octane were actually able to get the full res off during this gunfight here. So having your teams as an extra utility is very big. That was a well-decided ult, but poorly placed. And we see the portal destabilize because the zone is closing. The Valkyrie tanking incoming damage. The Caustic is able to get the gas off as well. They're going to be forced to challenge this 2-story. There aren't any players inside the Gibraltar with a little bit of health left, trying to camp that portal, but just the Gibby, and the zone is going to be closing.
This is going to be it right here. MKS with huge Spitfire shots, but only 2 members left. Outsiders also alive with 3 left, and it looks like that's going to be it. RCM. Very well done, finishing them off. Whew.
That Valkyrie's flesh, if you got to see, I believe that Valkyrie had less than 10 flesh to close out that match right there. We had no shields, and I mean, she was held on by a wingtip. I mean, Valkyrie's little bit of swept bangs kept her alive right there. That was as close as it gets.
Who actually won? Was that the team in the truck that ends up winning that?
I believe so. I believe that was the Valkyrie team of RCM. Yep.
Yeah, because I think all the teams were pushing towards the building because the building had a little bit of cover still left in the ring, and the team in the truck was just like, okay, we'll chill while you guys fight it out. We're okay with this. You could have your fights. We'll be back in a minute to kill you guys.
Exactly, and playing that end game is so strong. You see teams get desperate for this 1 kill, desperate for this 2-kill scenario. I mean, that 12 points for first place is going to be huge right there. And if you're the team fighting, if you're top 5, you can't throw your life away for 1 to 2 kills right there. And you made a huge point that the viewers in the chat may have not noticed. So you were talking about thirsting down kills of teams that were wiped. Explain to the viewers the importance behind that and kind of what it does.
So when 2 teams are fighting, if a team gets eliminated, so 1 team gets eliminated and there's still a downed member on a different team, so say there's 2 members alive and another member down, if another team comes in and kills that down person, it's just a free kill because the kill from the other team isn't there, so it's basically a free kill. So when you get into a fight, but if you kill the other 2 members before you thirst the down guy, it doesn't count as a kill. So going into a fight and a third party, you always should kill the downed people first if you can, because those are going to be extra points for you in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's some of that high tier gameplay that you don't necessarily see, but you'll learn that the more and more you play ranked, right? Because if you're
Mhm.
able to wipe a team, you see that self res, you see whatever, there's one player surviving, you can get quite a bit of KP. And in a tournament like this, you can get extra KP to add to your
Oh
total
yeah.
point value as well, not only just playing in ranked where the effective rank doesn't really matter. I mean, there's money on the line. So you're going to want to employ, again, all of those tools that are in your arsenal. But guys, we're going to be headed into game number 3. I am Dragonite. I am joined by Llama. We are here with the CGL June Major for the Console Gaming League. Guys, we're getting rigged up to game number 3, and we will be right back with you as soon as possible. Don't you folks go anywhere.
What is up, everyone? We're back. I know you missed us. I know it was a short break, but I know you missed us. But we are here. We're back with Dragonite in studio and everybody behind the scenes getting ready to load in for game number 3. We're already halfway done. Isn't that crazy, Dragonite?
This has been a slaughter fest. And I mean, we're even technically more than halfway done. We got to actually get the opportunity to cast that extra, we're going to call it a
Mhm.
warm up game.
Yeah.
We got to see the Bochek Republic go ahead and flex their chops a little bit and see. I mean, obviously, again, they've been breaking that top 10 threshold here. So every single time, I mean, obviously, they belong up here, but halfway done. We're headed into game number 3, and look at that pace difference that we saw between match number 1 and match number 2. I mean, we saw a slaughterfest in number 1, and let's talk about how much that crept to a halt towards the end there. But look at that
Mhm.
roster. Look at that shakeup. Our first
Oof.
place Carnage no longer in first
No
place.
longer in first place. They will still be third, so still in the running. At this point, you do really, it's still kind of anyone's game. No one's really out of reach. We've seen people drop 20-point games already, so 27 points on Valor Esports in first. They will take it with that, I believe second place. Didn't RCM
Mm-hmm.
take the win there? So RCM jumps into second, Valor will jump into first, Carnage will drop down to third, but still a lot of people in the running. Only 6 points separate first and fourth, so pretty interesting. And we do have a lot of people in the running. Bochek Republic in sixth, still in the running here. Had a decent game, and after that warm up game, still going strong. They belong in this top 10, and our number 1 team in the top 10. Good to see it. SFC.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how kind of the seeds got everything shaken up here. Of course, we did have that seed roster, and I'm going to double check that as well as we
Mm-hmm.
head into some of our replays here. But yes, SFC, TNA, and Aim Assist Sun. So only 2 of our top 3 seeds are actually, I believe, even in
Wow.
that top 10. So that's going to be definitely a shakeup here as we headed into our game number 3, but let alone the first tournament here, or the big tournament.
Yeah, we see that. We see Elysium go down there. They took another okay fight, but it ends up not being so good. And we see just the sad fight here as
Yeah.
the Gibby just gets 3v1 and the Vault can't really do anything. So as our match recap continues, it froze for me.
Yeah, that was a particularly
No
odd fight
worries.
there that we saw from that Valkyrie, or not the Valkyrie, excuse me, from
Yeah.
I believe that was a Gibraltar outside. There were a lot of whiffed Eva shots there. I don't know if that player was lagging. I mean, the
Mhm.
zone was closing at that opportunity, so the Valkyrie could have gone for a rotation, and Gibraltar could have tanked the damage, holding the door on the Dorito to try to lock that team in. Storm, they were actually sitting tanking Storm level
Yeah.
4 damage at that point, so there was an opportunity to force them to almost suicide
Oh yeah.
at that point right there. I think that was a little bit of a choke, unfortunately, from that
Yeah.
player there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard in the moment when you're getting shot by 3 people. As a Gibby,
Oh, yeah.
especially, I feel that. But yeah, maybe just think about that next time. Just what you could have done, and like we said, just adapting. That's the most important thing. You don't have to win every single game. As we hop back into our replays, just a little bit of issues. Technology being as it is, we've had some issues, of course. Always do, always will. And the bubble fight here, and we see the thermite that just actually killed them. They get 3 thermites on that box, and like when you're taking damage from a box, you can't get in it. So they can't get in that box. They get caustic ulted, and they ended up just getting wiped. And they try to get the shield swaps off, but they don't actually get them off. So very good thermites from the enemy team. And if you don't know, thermites do damage over time, so it's going to keep continuously ticking down their shields and health, and it's going to show the enemy team exactly where they are, because they know where that damage counter is ticking from.
Exactly. I think that's a 2 second, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 seconds there from the thermite grenade. I think it does 25
Hmm.
seconds worth of damage for every second you stand in the fire. Or, excuse me,
Yeah.
25 points of damage for every second that you stand in the fire, and it deals that damage over a couple seconds of time. So, exactly as you said, that's almost a live Bloodhound tracker, right? You can see,
Yeah.
oh, this Wraith that I know I hit with my thermite grenade is going up a flight of stairs inside this building because the damage indicator is literally rising. So, there's a lot of visual cues. We've talked about the ambient communication and feedback you can get from Apex, which I think is kind of one of the coolest things about this game compared to other battle royales, is how visceral that feedback is. The cracking of the armor, right? That shatter noise. You get the flame ticking in the background. The arc stars have a very tactile noise. I think there's a lot of sound even at high tier Apex gameplay that's very important.
Yeah, and it's crazy what Apex has actually built. I mean, shout out to them. They were, I believe, the first people to actually introduce this ping system into Battle Royale that lets any language communicate with each other. No matter what language you're in, you're gonna know what an enemy ping is now in Apex.
Hmm.
So just a huge shout out to them for just breaking the language barrier and creating an awesome system where you can communicate so well. And that's the best thing about Apex, is the more you communicate, the better you're going to do.
And I'll give you a nifty tidbit here. I believe that EA holds the title to one of the Star Wars games. It was, I believe, Republic Commando, actually, the
Hmm,
guy who created the ping system to teach your AI what to do. In
interesting.
Republic Commando, since that is an EA title, I believe they adopted a relative form of that ping system for Apex. And the industry will refer to that as an ambient communication ping. So, for those of you in the chat that want to know a little bit of nifty stuff, I can drop a little bit of game knowledge on you.
That is super nifty. That is pretty cool. But yeah, it's just an amazing thing to have, and we will see as all of our teams dropping out of the ship as we get into game number 3. After this game, you only have one game left, so you got to do really good. If you aren't in the top 10 in after this next game, you might be in trouble. So you got to do really well this game, put it all out there, and perform. And all the teams in the top, you got to stay in the top. You got to keep on staying consistent as we see this team
Oh, that's
landing
big.
thermal, spread out, and we will see where it goes from here.
Yeah, we have a lot of teams landing thermal. That may have been 2 or 3 here. We do see the Gibraltar just kind of
Hmm.
running around. It looks like they're going for some loot here. Lavrasha, I believe this is on Team SFC, if I'm not mistaken. I do recognize that gamer tag here, and that's correct. We are going to be swapping to POV, though, over to Rocky or Roki on Team Elysium
Hmm.
here. We do see, it doesn't look like they're necessarily contested here, but we do see already 2 teams out of the lobby. Shifty taken, able to get a
Wow.
kill in the kill feed on the right-hand side onto that player Excel as well in the background here. So a lot of fights already going off, and this was that thing you and I weren't necessarily sure about, is if we were going to see teams 50-50
Hmm.
very quickly because they don't really have any points, or if we're going to see teams play it very slowly hoping to steal a couple kills. And it looks like they're going to be fighting pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, fighting quick is interesting. I mean, it can get you really good points, and it can cut off loot to a really good team, possibly, or just get you decent points for. I mean, 3 is a lot. I mean, we said the top 4 teams are only separated by 6, so it is 3 points is a lot. As we will see some loot orb be broken. Obviously, these fly in the sky in World's Edge. Super good to get you some loot if you hit it at the right time.
I would have liked to see that team in Sorting Factory ape that other team inside
Hmm.
there. They were fighting a Gibraltar there, and that Gibraltar bubbled very early outside, making sure you
Yeah.
could close the distance from that building to get back inside. And I think there was an opportunity there, but they definitely didn't want to get a little too over aggressive just in case. Obviously, you don't want to throw yourself directly into a gunfight if you're not ready to take it there. That Valkyrie, again, we see a different Valkyrie. It was Rojo previously, but it's going to be win for the money with a wingman in hand as
Hmm.
well. Maybe kitting for a different heavy gun, but a pretty brave gun to be using on a controller there. I mean, we do have that aim assist, of course, but that is definitely a very impactful weapon. And it does we're getting the gunfight that I was hoping for here. 3 or 4 teams in the mix here already in Sorting Factory.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy, and like you said, it's going to be a fight like you wanted. So it's going to be a fight here in sorting. As we'll see, another team was getting the beacon up in there, but I think it's going to be mostly a sorting ring right now. I don't see what else is in, but I believe harvester and sorting are the big options. So if it is sorting, there are so many buildings and so many places to actually hold so much differential of height that it could be a really, really crazy game with still 17 squads left.
This is going to be the team that we are going to see at Thermal Station here. So this was a lot of the teams that fought early, and that answers our question here. Shifty taken, that player that was able to kill Excel earlier on in the match. There's your arcing grenades that you had referred to in our previous match here, but Shifty was able to get a considerable amount of damage, and his teammates were able to get a knock there, and Shifty had thirsted one of those kills there. So definitely important there. A lot of damage from this POV, from this Octane this early on into the game there, headed towards the 400 mark here. So obviously a couple kills on board. We see the Gibraltar, 45 damage, not entirely a ton. We have the Scout in hand with a 2x scope. If I'm not mistaken, this was that Gibraltar we saw with the 2x on the charge rifle that was absolutely griefing their way into the top 10 previously in our zone that ended at Refinery. So again, a lot of, I'm definitely able to tell which characters are able to kind of lean into that aim assist and which players are.
Yeah, and you know, we see a lot of changing again. Like we saw that super aggressive the super aggressive teams early, that first game, that warm-up game, and then even game 1, we still saw a lot of aggressive teams, and we're seeing them tone it more down. You want to get placement points now. You might have had a fun couple first games, but now it is all about placement. You honestly can't run an aggressive comp now unless you are just super confident in your ability, and as we see it right
like
here,
that
the aggressive team and they will be padding on with the Revel, and I don't know if they actually see a team, but the scan will come out. I don't know who they were revving onto, but they'll be looking.
Correct me if I'm mistaken. I think the Rev Ultimate is distanceless at this point. I believe that originally did have a distance implied on it, and then they ended up taking that back when players still said the Revenant wasn't as strong as he could be. So if I'm not mistaken, they could, in theory, stay in this Ultimate for quite a period of time here.
Yeah, it doesn't have a distance on it. I believe the only really thing you can't use in it, I don't think you can use jump towers or Valkyrie ult, I believe. Is the one thing, because they don't want you flying like super far. But other than that, I don't think it has. I mean, if you got Valkyrie ulted on by a Revenant, that'd be kind of sad.
That would be very difficult. Does look like our zone's going to pull further south. We saw a bottom right-hand zone towards the Lava City and Lava Dome as well initially in our first matchup. And then we saw kind of pull into a different spot. It pulled towards Overlook during our game number 2, and then we ended up seeing that close out towards that Refinery as well. But it looks like we're going to see these players rotating up. They're going to rotate towards the Beacon building, the L corner building here near the truck. And whether or not they see these extra players here that are ahead of them, it looks like they are scouting them out. But there may be a player or two behind that's going to grief them, and it does. We forced the Gibby bubble early. This player has a Scout in hand and a Mastiff as well. Huge chunk damage onto the Gibraltar. They know the Dome already popped, and he's going for a hopeful thirst or two here with this ult, but unfortunately, that Gibraltar was killed so quickly that ult is not going to be doing very much damage here. So an absolutely beautiful rat by that player up there. We saw that at the top. That was Prime Vladdy, I believe, was the player that was sitting on ultimate height on that right-hand side there, and was just able to grief that team as the Gibraltar got him in the back.
Yeah, that was very beautiful. They don't have a third party coming, but if you don't know, after you kill a Gibraltar, his ultimate will immediately stop. So even though that Gibraltar threw his ultimate, it's not going to do much because they killed him there. They will get some shield swaps as 2 other teams look like they might be coming in here, but they might fight each other first, and that could possibly be another third party opportunity as a Wraith is silenced, not the team member you really want to be silenced.
Yeah, especially, again, that Wraith filling that same role that an Octane will, kind of that poke damage character, right? She's able to get you a lot of intel. She can go ahead and get into a battle, take a little bit of damage, do some damage, and then phase back out, albeit her phase has been nerfed a little bit here. It does take a bit longer, but she's able to see players in that phase, pretty much taking all of Wraith's kind of importance or all of her character ability out with that silence. And again, that's another very impactful ability coupled with Revenant, who is currently very strong and very meta with a lot of aggro teams. So that silence you're going to see coming into play a whole lot here. In case in point, we see a Caustic here actually though, setting up inside the building. We've seen a lot of defensive teams, but this one's particularly odd because we don't see that Gibraltar that we always see in this meta here. So curious to see how OS Academy is going to fare heading into the late game.
So the interesting thing about a Revenant pick is usually you think like, well, it is mostly used for aggressive things, but if you get a silence on like certain members of their team, it is just so detrimental. A Gibby, he loses his arm shield, he loses his dome for 10 seconds. That's a huge timer. You lose Wraith phase, you lose a Bloodhound scan, you lose so many things if they get hit by that orb. If you can position it correctly, that Revenant is such an underrated pick and so strong, even in defensive.
Absolutely, and we saw that Wraith portal right there, and she did choose to use her Q to go ahead and close the distance between both of the buildings, trying to phase, just making sure she wasn't going to take any damage here. I believe there was actually a kidnap in game number 1 that unfortunately we didn't get the pan on, but I was hoping to see we could get a kidnap here. And for those players that are in the chat that, again, are learning some new Apex terminology and are learning some things throughout this tournament here, a kidnap refers to when a Wraith will drop a portal directly on an opposing player and have the one end of the portal end on height, so the player can't retreat through the portal. They drop directly into the Wraith's 2 teammates, and she also takes the portal back, and you're able to pretty much net an easy kill here. So I'm hoping to see some of that cheeky gameplay. We saw kidnapping a lot during the Wattson meta because a Wraith would phase in through the pylons there and through into the fences, and was able to get a couple easy kills here. But swapping over into a gunfight immediately, Bloodhound is met with a 3-man stack, effectively equaling a Sheila turret right there. We are going to potentially go for the res here. The Gibraltar does throw his ultimate, but the dome is going to come into play, and that was a late dome, so very good here. But already they tried too long to stick that res. Octane stuck that for far too long, and that's going to be a nice 3-man kill feed with no damage on the back.
Yeah, Grandpa family takes it easy. They are getting poked out a little bit from the charge rifle, but what an amazing fight they took there. Just clean. Quick, clean, takes one down, go into the bubble, take the other 2 out, stop the res. Just very well done.
Yeah, I did like that the Octane was trying to get that res on the Bloodhound, though. I just think the Gibraltar dome maybe could have come in a little bit earlier. Gibraltar, again, with the scout in hand. We've seen a couple fumbles in some engagements. We saw it with the team that previously died, rotating out of Geyser as well. That Gibraltar tried to take a fight. He had the Resulta combo. Your man, Resulta, I believe, with the Scout Eva or the Scout Mastiff combo there. You always see him with that single shot weapon and then that burst fire shotgun. And unfortunately, the scout in hand, they nerfed its hip fire. And so, unfortunately, it's not as easy to hit as you would once have believed. And so that Gibraltar just was kind of neutered pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's the problem is if you're trying to use the G-Scout at close range, it doesn't really work anymore. You basically have to switch to your shotgun now. It's really good for mid to long range for the G-Scout, but if you get into close range, its hipfire it doesn't hit how you think it's going to. It has a pretty big spread on it, so it's not as good as a shotgun's going to be. And if you don't have time to switch to a shotgun, you're kind of dead in the water.
Absolutely, and that is definitely a current meta as well that we do see. There's a lot of shotgun meta. We've seen the Spitfire. It does look like in the foreground, though, we have that player. It looks like Spy in the hands of Roki, if I'm not mistaken. That player does have a pretty considerable amount of damage on no shield and down into health. Not entirely sure what that player is, but this is also interesting as well. This Razani team that we have right here, this player Rojo that is now on a Caustic was previously a Valkyrie that we saw kind of not performing very well in the Dorito. They placed, I believe, top 8 and were eventually melted out. So we did see a comp switch on this team right here. So again, this is another important thing to note, that these teams may be teams that haven't competed are maybe a little shaken up here.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe they're just trying new things. I mean, there will most likely be another tournament that they can do, but oh wow, but a huge shot from behind here, and they are just deleting them. I believe that was a Revol, but they sent them all back here, and TNA already 1 member down. Bloodhound gonna die to a charge rifle from far, and it is only Octane trying to get out. He will be dead. Also, Elysium, very nice shots getting behind this other team, as they will, I believe, hear another team behind them. So lots of teams crowding in this dome Lava City area, and it is just getting into a bloodbath as the charge rifle from afar and the G-Scout going to hit this team.
And I do want to clarify, because our production is so absolutely fast on this stuff, that team on the right-hand side of your screen, that was originally TNA, and they were wiped so quickly we couldn't even update the handle to say Outsiders Gaming. Now, this is incredibly dangerous. This Gibraltar that we have seen on Outsiders Gaming is the Gibraltar I was referring to with that charge rifle. I think this man has unlocked a new perk for Gibraltar where you just spawn with a charge rifle. He's had a 2-time of some variety every single time this man's out here snorting lines of crushed up bruiser scopes and charge rifles right here, unlocking the Akimbo Gibraltar charge rifle perk here. So we are going to see another player on this team of Grandpa's family, though, engaging with an opposing team in front of them. And we see the Wraith go forward. No kidnap, but they are trying to bait this player into an engagement. I actually would have liked to see the kidnap there, especially considering that damage on the Bloodhound. But look at that, holding off the Caustic Smoke with the Gibraltar dome. Very big, but another Caustic ultimate is going to come into play. However, that ended up coming into being, but they're going for the thirst. 2 players, 1 player down, 1 player very hurt. And I like that they chose to res their teammate rather than go for 1 singular kill.
Yeah, it's very smart. prioritizing your team over getting one single kill is just so smart. So they will walk away with a lot of kills here. I believe they're already over 5 kills. 5 kills have been seen. I don't know how many are on the third. So Grandpa Family doing really well here. 10 squads left here, and like you said, just rezzing that teammate so important, and they do that. They will leave a rat somewhere, but that is okay. They get the kills, they will get out, and they will get good shields because of it.
That's exactly right. And we're going to pivot here. It looks like we are going to be headed to another team as we look to see. It looks like they may be setting up for an engagement here, whether they're aware of this team that is on the outside of them. We're not entirely sure. We see that player FTL on the front left-hand side there and T91 Smurfer. So I believe that may be your Grandpa Family, if I'm not mistaken, and it is. So that was our 8th seed going into this fight here. And then we have Aidzia, another Pred player here. I'm going to be double-checking what roster he is on, but I believe that's going to be the Carnage Gaming roster, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is going to be 2 of our top 10 rosters, potentially forced into an engagement right there, and we do see Grandpa Family with 1 player with about 20 health left on board and a Gibraltar as well trying to rush in. So again, we're seeing one of those closer to late games where all of these players are starting to get building together, and a lot of the defensive players are going to be arming up to try to force this late game fight.
Yeah, so I believe it's pulling more towards launch site, so it could be pulling to this sorting-ish where this team, what we're looking at right now, SFC, is, and it could be there pulling down with that low ground there, or it could be pulling more into launch site where we've seen where there's a lot more cover and stuff. So we'll have to see where it goes from here, but team setting up, giving it their best guess, or maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe they just know it better and are ready for this final ring already.
Now, interestingly enough, there is still a beacon we do see on the map POV, and if I'm not mistaken here, each time the beacons are usable per team, but when a team uses a beacon, it does remove the indicator from the map. So it does look to see that no one has actually used that beacon yet. Now, it looks like we did just see another player go down in that background right there, and again, this is an odd one here. Team Goblins is actually, I believe that player only had like 30 or 40 damage on his POV. So a team that hasn't otherwise really gotten into any fights, it's going to need to stay alive very late into this game to even get any points if they're not going to be awarded any kills here. Gibraltar, though, very aggressively pushing in onto that Caustic. That player is going to be Flesh. Another one cracked as he rotates inside in the Caustic gas. Now, you can't see me. I can't see you. It's a tough fight to be in. But we are going to be able to take that Caustic. The whip shot comes in as we go for the thirst on that Valkyrie, and we go ahead to pop that trap and guarantee our kill on the Gibraltar, potentially setting up an armor swap as well for another later game fight.
Yeah, that was crazy. Flicks on him really quick, and we will see this ring is pulling heavy into the launch site, and it will be a small ring. A lot of teams gonna have to rotate, but a third party coming in right now for Grandpa.
Wow.
Huge flatline shots already coming out. Already dinks the shields off. Red shields on all of them. A missed frag, but the second one will throw. See if they can get any damage off those. Full red getting back up is what the Wraith will want for this fight as the third party comes in. All purples, all reds versus all purples.
Wow.
Another huge clip of flatline. Is this Grandpa Family gonna bub forward?
That's
this
huge.
other team's just running.
Yeah, see, this is when you have to hold your competitive mettle at this point, because they originally were in a pretty fair gunfight right here. Grandpa's Family on the right-hand side, though, forcing their way into that bubble. They were able to take down the Octane. The Gibby does stay alive. That arm shield's still probably going to be up. Grandpa Family in the 1v1, but he's not going to make it. The Gibraltar is able to survive. The Bloodhound is still up as well. I would like to see the Dome here. Now, they had an opportunity when they bubbed forward to go ahead and ape a player, but it took them an extra couple seconds to get together, and it gave that team the opportunity to bubble back and get a little bit of a reset off in that engagement there, and I think that they were just a little bit discoordinated, or uncoordinated rather, in that engagement there, and that was not to the favor of Grandpa's Family.
Yeah, they get wiped, and Amos's Sons here have a little bit of a tough rotation, and they already have one member down. The Octane gonna be down right now, shooting, trying to keep this other team off them while they have a member down. So bub forward, a huge, actually blocks all of their shots. Eva will be good, but will be good enough. Octane with a massive will take him down, and there's going to be one left on Amos's Sons. They will go down.
Wow.
Wiped, and Elysium. We've heard their name, and here they are with a squad wipe. Oh, what a perfect bubble. Can we talk about that?
That was perfect for the opposing team, I feel like. That bubble, as you had said, blocked a lot of external damage there that player was going to do to that Octane as he pushed up, and he took 3 or 4 EVA shots from that juiced Octane in that specific engagement. And then the following up bubble was massive as well, blocking some other damage and the incoming third party from the outside. And we're going to see some caustic gas. It looks like there were 2 teams that were engaging. It looks like there may be a player down. Ace Excel on the left-hand side there. Looks like he is going to be down, but still alive. We see I Am Guz still alive as well. Carlitos still trying to survive. They're kind of down behind enemy lines. We have quite a few players pinned down in different engagements here. I'd like to see, when we can, that mini-map to see where the zones are, but we do see a bubble in the hands of one of the teams on the opposing side, and it looks like Ace is actually going to be back to full shields, and he's going to be down there ratting alive. We have 5 squads, 11 players in it, so most likely only 1 full squad potentially in here at all, or quite a few rats.
Yeah, and we see this full team with full reds. That is going to give them a huge advantage. OS Academy here, though, not too many kills on them right now, but they do have 1. They are in good position, and top 5 is good, but you want that first place glory. You need this game to get into the top 10. So, like you see, the full reds, Ace, like you were talking about, ratting out. If you can just wait, if you can get top 3, top 2, anything. Oh, no! No, you're not getting anything. You're getting Kraber, and he goes down. Ace is eliminated. 4 teams left in this ring. Oh, he was just trying to live his life, and he just the Kraber headshot comes out.
Now, what it does look like, now that we see that there's only going to be 4 teams here, this actually does look to be more full teams than not here. We see a lot of the players on the opposing roster up above. We see the couple players that are sitting here on the blue crates, and the team to the left that is going to end up getting patted on. Aidsy is going to be the sole solo member from his team. That's going to be Carnage trying to rat it out, and Aidsy is actually in a fantastic spot here. If he can force these other teams to get knocks and downs here, Aidsy is actually in the final spot for this map, it looks like, because of course, as we know, Respawn favors those open fields to force those end game fights here. So we're going to see a lot of these teams have to bub forward and engage out in between different ultimates here, and AZ's in a fantastic spot to try to steal a couple kills, but Carlitos is there with the Spitfire and able to get a considerable amount of damage and at least get a knock here. But again, we have to be worrying about this zone number 5. This damage is incredibly punishing. They are going to be teleporting down onto AZ. We may see him in the kill feed here in just a moment. A Rev ult, I do believe, comes out as well, as you see the R301 spray into that purple player on the opposing side on that rock. AZ, however, with the knock in the background and the thirst. So again, holding his position, a solo player able to get a knock and a kill for his team, furthering him into the top 5.
Wow, that's crazy. And the Kraber.
No!
He has the Kraber. He's nuts. I think he just wiped a full squad all by himself. AZ just kills him. RCM on this height though above him. I don't think they know he was there. They might have gone and thirded that, but AZ, Kraber, and everything takes that squad down of OS Academy and rolls them by himself. So it is now a 3 squad left ring. Final ring, 13 seconds until it does close. They do scan him out, so they will know he's here, but fantastic. We're going to get into the final action. The Rock is going to close in, I believe, first, so this RCM team, I believe, is in the best spot other than AZ. AZ has a nice spot on this low ground.
Yes, he does.
And, like, no one has to push him. He doesn't have to push anybody else. And, like, if RCM drops on them, they're just going to throw the game because they're giving up their high ground. So it's such a good spot for him to be in right now. The Rock is going to close for this other team. As we see, Elysium is the other team. They have a couple good shields. They're going to rotate. Will the rotate be good enough? It's going to be on a Rock. As the high ground will still be in for a little bit. The Bloodhound ult will come out. Will be too early. The Valkyrie ult from AZ, I believe. He's going to try and just circle in the sky, honestly, I believe, is his plan. And that's what he's going to do. He's just going to be circling above and trying to stay alive as long as possible. Here we go. This is going to be fine. Oh, no. He's getting shot at. He's getting cracked, but he's going to land back down all by himself, and I believe he's going to go. He's still alive. He's still living his life as a solo with like 2 health. Chilling, healing up, and he will be actually eliminated. Now it is just a 1v1 on the teams. RCM versus Elysium, 3v3, all players up. The Gibby ult is huge, and the push will come out from RCM. Here it is, the Bub 4, double Bub. It's going to be a Bub fight for the win. Both of them are very good, but who's going to be better? The Gibby ult will come down. Both Bubs getting ready to drop, and here it is. This is going to be madness. As Elysium puts in huge good shots, the Gibby already down, and 2 left on RCM. Will they finish it out? Octane, the only one left. Can he do it with his EVA shots? And he will not. Elysium is your Game 3 champion.
That was a big series of fights right there. I liked the beacon there that they threw just to potentially give themselves a little bit of cover right there. But I honestly think that we need to talk about Aidsy, kind of my
Mhm.
unsung hero here, ratting from that top 6, or honestly that top 8. He was in engagement with Grandpa and family, and they ended up making it out there. And then that huge play with the Kraber, the couple thirsts that we
Yeah.
got, he got that thirst with the Eva and was able to get that armor swap off. And I believe he got a collat, if I'm not mistaken, with two
Mhm.
players that had dropped down, doing exactly what you had said. Is if you were willing to give up that height to try to ape that one player, you
Mhm.
weren't really going to get much
No.
ground that you needed to hold that kind of favored a single player, and they threw. They
Yeah.
unfortunately lost a very big fight, gave him a point multiplier getting into that top 3. I mean, huge fights out of Elysium, of course, but I think my unsung hero from that was
Oh yeah.
definitely going to be AZ.
Yeah, he gets the super nice Kraber headshot on the solo. Then I believe he wipes a team all by himself, and just insane stuff from him. Top 3, a lot of points, a lot of kills. That will get their team a huge boost, and I think that's what they needed. And Elysium, very good fight there at the end to finish it. Very good R301 shots, and they will close it out, being our Game 3 champion.
Absolutely. And guys, we're going to get the replays rigged up for you. We're going to get the scoreboard updated. We're going to head into our final, our game number 4. We are 75% of the way through this tournament, and we're 75% of the way of deciding who is going to walk away with their CGL paycheck here at the CGL June Major Apex matchup here. So guys, Llama and I will be right back with you. We're going to work with production to get some stats up for you, and we will be back with you as soon as possible. Don't you lovely folks go anywhere.
What's up, everybody? I know you missed us. We're back from our break, and here we are getting ready for game number 4. A crazy game 3 that we have to go over for the CGL June Major. A huge slice of the prize pool available for these teams, and we're going to look at just the point distribution. I know a couple people were asking in chat if it related to the ALGS point distribution. It is pretty similar. Other than that, it was a match point format. I can't speak today. It's great. For the last one, but here is your point distribution. So obviously going to prioritize placement: 12 for first, 9 for second, 7 for third, and you also get a kill for each point. So pretty nice stuff there.
Exactly. And of course, that placement point is going to come in very, very important. You don't see that really in the kill race tournaments that were pretty commonplace before we were able to get those private lobbies set up. But this is going to be your updated scoreboard. So that's going to be RCM and Grandpa and Family actually coming from behind there. Of course, they were orbiting that top 8 rotation there. Bochek Republic, though, unfortunately getting taken out very, very quickly. They had 18 points previously. So one
Wow.
singular point at a Bochek Republic, Aim Assist and Sons eking their way up as well. And you made a point about this earlier, Llama, was that how close knit the scores were between this top couple players. Now we see a very, very small discrepancy between second through 6th here. But RCM, 9 points running away with that. That's a 0 kill second placed match right there that you have to get just to catch up to RCM if you're Grandpa and Family. So this is going to be a big series of kills. RCM has set themselves up for incredible success. Led it into our game number 4.
So now if you're thinking, if you're one of these teams in the top 10 and you see RCM in the kill feed, you have to go kill them. You most likely have to go kill them no matter how much it's going to cost you. You need to go kill them, and RCM needs to be watching out for that. Maybe play a way more defensive comp, stay in a building, try and stay away from everybody else, because if you just need to have a decent game. You don't even need to have the best game of your life. We see that Bub right there that we were talking about, just crazy, blocked all the shots, let them get up, and then the Miss Eva, the Octane comes through and just kills them.
Yeah, that Octane with the ankle breaker was huge right there. And that juiced slide right through the window. But this is going to be our POV of Ace getting hit, I believe, right in the face here. He had 3 of the letters for it, just one in the face. We added the Turbo F to that man's gamer tag. And that was an unfortunate death there. But huge again from AZ to further Carnage Gaming. So, I mean, again, very, very important wins from him and those thirsts as well.
Yeah, and we see Elysium does take the win there, but RCM had so many kills that game, like you were talking about, that 9 points ahead. Like you said, that's a second place with no kills, and it's a lot. You need to have a lot to catch them. So you need them to drop super far, or you need yourself to just have the best game of your life. So that's what you players need to be thinking. So maybe we're going to see a huge change in the character selection, because we could see all these teams that are maybe 2nd to 10th going for this super aggressive comp just to take out and get kills to be able to have a position to have a chance for that first place spot. And we might see RCM and maybe some of the second and third place teams take a more um, defensive composition as they try and defend themselves against all these teams trying to take them out of the race.
Absolutely. And you see that actually a lot. A lot of players talk about it. A lot of the really high tier, you'll see Predator Masters and some pro players as well talk about how there needs to be randomization of skins and randomization of the kill feed going into tournaments. And that's not something that Respawn's implemented yet. And so you can do exactly as you're referring to. You can get griefed based on your character skin. You can get griefed based on kills in the kill feed, right? If we see a down on TSM and TSM's leading, I'm going to go thirst that kill. I'm going to thirst any downed player next to me because I saw reps their Gibby, right? I know that at some point on the map, there's a Gibby down. If I see a Gibby down next to me, that's my best guess that's reps, and I need to make sure the TSM isn't going to further their goal. So that's a very, very important point as we head into game number 4. Teams are going to be thirsty because they need to get every point they can.
Yeah, and it could kill you. It's a very, very risky thing, but when you are 9 points behind, that is 3 full squads or a super high finish. So you need to have a great game or take somebody out. And if like you said, if somebody has a skin like that, or if you see a Gibby go down in the feed and you see him in the feed that it's this RCM, it's one of the RCM players, and you go in and it's not RCM, you still have to, because you have to take that chance that you're going to be able to take them out, and you have to be confident that you can take them.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to see a lot of these players do exactly what you said, and they're going to get very aggro. We're going to see a lot of teams, and you could call it throwing, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you're in a position to need a lot of kills, you're going to need to do whatever you can. So we may see more Revtane teams with a Bloodhound as well, so they're just able to engage in fights quickly. You may see a Revtane with a Gibraltar as well, giving them an opportunity to dome after they come back through the Rev reset here. But we're going to probably see a very fast early game and then a very, very even slower late game. This may end up being our slowest paced game yet because, of course, those teams need that placement. So very impactful.
We're not gonna see it, but I would love to see a Pathfinder. I haven't seen him in so
Me
long.
too.
uh, just with the zips, and he still gives info, can make such great 1v1 plays, but I don't think anybody's gonna pick him for this last game. It would be really nice to have one, and I don't think we will, sadly.
I would love to see it, man. I've been teasing you about being a Gibraltar main, Mr. Meta, throughout this tournament here, and I am a Pathfinder main, so I am the entire opposite. I am a Samsung smart fridge on 2 legs, trying to run across the map, doing my absolute best. I was enthralled watching a TSM Aberlele play back in the original seasons of the game, and it's what really got me into competitive Apex at a high tiers. And couple that with Pathfinder's incredibly positive disposition, I just think he's a precious character, needs to be protected as well as being a great asset. But unfortunately, it's pretty easy to take down.
Yeah, he's kind of, even though he's more lanky, but he kind of has a kind of wonky hitbox, so it's pretty big. And I mean, I still remember the amazing like Pathfinder Wraith Watson metas back in like
Season
season
3.
1, where it's just
Yeah.
like all Watson fences. The final ring is just everything is Watson fenced. It's like 15 of them from each team, but
I
the old days.
digress.
Yeah.
We are in a completely different meta, and arguably, I don't know if I will call it a more skillful meta, but there's a lot more to learn than there was back in Apex in that time frame. We've had a lot more weapons, a lot more hop-ups introduced. We had a new map, right? That was still King's Canyon, I think. I think Season 3 was the debut of World's Edge right there. So right when we saw that Watson Pathfinder meta as well. But I mean, again, there's a lot of things that have evolved. Gibraltar was not a main pick during Seasons 1 and 2. And ended up becoming a main pick, right? We didn't see Caustic ever used in anything. We saw Caustic abused in season 6 and 7 and a little bit into season 8 as well. So, I mean, a lot of different things have changed. And it's interesting to see a lot of the players that fell off and a lot of the new players that kind of orbited that high tier scene that are now filling some of those roles as those other traditional pros have stepped away.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting where like most pros only focus on a couple legends. So like if your legend goes out of a meta, like you could be possibly losing your spot on a team because you don't know how to play a Gibby or a Bloodhound or something like that. And if you're only like a Fuse main, that's a bad example, but if you're only a specific like legend main, you could lose your spot. But here it is. It is time for the final game, game number 4, the one to win it all. We will see if RCM can hold on to their lead, their 9-point lead coming into this one.
And all things considered, 9 points is both a really, really large amount and also not really a big amount at all. I mean, in theory, if you have a pop-off game, 9 kill spread between a decent team is actually not much. That's 3 kills apiece. That's not crazy. If you couple that with some placement points and RCM gets 50-50 off the drop right here, that actually could absolutely turn around and bite them. And I don't necessarily think that we're going to see it, but it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how RCM is going to perform in this game. If RCM performs really, really well, it's going to be hard for any other team to pass them. If they die off early, or if somebody apes them or something and they die bottom 10, it could easily someone could take it. I mean, they get the 10 points from placement from winning, and then they just get a couple kills and they passed them.
That's exactly right. We see a lot of teams flying over. I do like that only 2 teams, it really looks like, are flying into fragment. We see a player landing west frag right there, and then another player on east frag as well, kind of near this snipe down building. But that's going to be Laser Knights, we see. Go ahead and loot on top of this building here now. Again, for those of us that are in the chat that have been playing World's Edge, of course, you all know this is traditionally in a pubs environment, the building where boys become men. You fight 37 people with a P2020 to your name. There's 7 bloodhounds panting like dogs around you, and caustic barrels everywhere. But this man is going to be left alone for the time being here. But it does look like we have a player already health and shields down, unless that is an observer issue right there. But no, he does shield swap right there. So they may have been in an engagement, maybe a charge rifle or another player doing some pick damage here. I'm not entirely sure what that might be in relation to.
Yeah.
Maybe he octane stimmed, but it doesn't look like that shield is going to be full.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe getting shield swaps possibly would be the only thing I would think, but maybe some damage from another squad. But yeah, anytime I land there, I'm just a big fat Gibby and they all target me and I die, so never make it out alive of that one.
Well, you and I know the fight, right? You got to force the bubble out of the Gibby first before you're willing to take the fight. But there's our Pathfinder that we were hoping to see. That's going to be flip-flop-flop. That's 2 Pathfinders back-to-back. Give me my Season 3 meta back, baby. This is what I'm looking for. I was hoping we were going to get some meme teams here in our final matchup here. And honestly, there is something to be said for teams that run unconventional rosters, right? We see Solo Q Goats, the 3rd placing, I believe, EMEA team or APAC team of the Solo Q Goats, Shiv, Zipeth, and DiffQ. And those guys are going to be running an unconventional meta. They're going to be running a Bangalore, and that's just because that's what Shiv prefers to play, and they feel the best. And 3rd place in a nationals tournament is not a bad look for especially a team with a roster that's not traditional.
No, and just a shout out AZ, our solo from last game. As we're watching him, he huge stuff from last game. Got Carnage actually in position with those kills to maybe take game 4 here. We love to see this Pathfinder. It's just amazing getting that sweet that satisfactory slide after the zip is just the most amazing thing ever.
Absolutely. Although gone are the days of pendulum swinging into a gunfight and pendulum swinging right back out. But it does look like, unfortunately, this team is a little bit underlooted. We already see 18 squads, so a couple squads have already gotten some kills in the kill feed in the background here. But we are going to see this player keep his flatline. So this was AZ again, and we saw this player beaming with that flatline previously, and then eventually using the Kraber and the Eva as well. I think the flatline, arguably one of the most skillful weapons in the game. The recoil pattern on that gun is particularly difficult, as it is with most of the heavy weapons, albeit the Spitfire is a little bit of an argument I'm not going to take.
We're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Heavy is really strong this season, though. Like, the flatline hits pretty hard. I mean, Wingman got a little bit of a nerf, but Spitfire is pretty broken. 30-30 can keep up with most long-range things. 30-30 also got an interesting hop-up with the Shatter Caps, which turns your sniper basically into a shotgun. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't actually find myself using the Shatter Caps as much as I would, but the hipfire on the 30-30 is damn near Season 0 Wingman, and is almost the same thing as the Scout pre-nerf. So I actually think the buff that the 30-30 has gotten is going to make it eventually a very abusable weapon here. But we see a Charge Rifle in play, and a Revenant team is going to manage to stay into their rev. We do see Beans on the top left of the team Goblins, who is, I believe, in the 15th seed currently here. They were obviously a top 20 here. He's going to be engaging with another player, though, and he is going to be immediately sent back through the totem. That's going to be Ace Excel, though, that player that was hit by the Kraber by AZ in our previous match, who was able to rat his way through into that top 5, though, and get his team at least some kind of point multiplier. We're going to be on board with him as he tries to take a close combat fight with that 301, but Gibby is going to be left outside to dry as they are forced to pad back in and take this reset fight.
Yeah, the Octane, the Octane gonna be choking on the caustic gas. The Res can come out, but the other 3-1 shots gonna crack. But the huge PK shot right to his face will kill him. Revenant gonna have to come in and try and finish this, as Wayne killing their team for right now. Gonna try and go for a little bit of the thirst. This is game 4. You do need those kill points, and with one member down, you do need it even more. And the Octane's still down here. They may just go for the Thirst and get the res off for free here. As the other member comes in and they Remnant low here. The team is all low. The orb is nice and it might be the kill. And there it is. Goodbye. And the Goblins take a squad.
They did fall prey in that engagement, though. That Octane, that A6L player, did fall prey to something that I do see a lot of players become guilty of on a console specifically. In your engagements, you don't need to ADS at close range. Your hipfire on most of the automatic weapons is going to be relatively accurate, and you do lose a movement. You get a movement penalty in specific examples when you take engagements right there. It looks like we may have had a little bit of a lag out on one player's POV, if I am not mistaken here. We are going to have production double check to see what's going on right there, but it would not be an Apex series without some form of technical difficulty. I am yet impressed that we have not seen any players ejected directly into the underworld from a Valkyrie ult yet. We have not seen any reports of that, so we will have to double check. But it looks like we are getting a ping from production here, and it looks like Apex servers in the United States may have crashed. So this may not be a CGL, this may be an Apex issue at its core. So give us just a moment while we figure out what is going on in that specific interval. It looks like production has said that some of the US servers are, or excuse me, the EU servers are crashing here. They clarified in our production chat. So, of course, it would not be an Apex event without,
No.
but that is going to change things moving forward here. Are we going to see anything different in comparison to what we saw? We saw a little bit of character meta shakeups. What are you thinking about it, Llama?
So, well, interesting thing. This just like we've been talking about mental state, and this is the players going in are expecting a 4-game series, and right now we're gonna be going into a game 6.
Game number
basically.
6.
So it's a little bit draining, you know. You're trying to keep going or whatever, and it's all about mental strength here. So the first game, obviously, a warm up didn't count, and then we have our 3 games, and then we have the servers just dying on us. So we'll have to see. The players just have to stay strong. I mean, it's not gonna be a short break, I believe. We'll we'll have to see, but the players just have to stick with it, and we'll see if they try and change anything. If I mean, the teams that died there got a pretty lucky lucky catch there.
Little reset. Yeah, especially, I mean, if you're dying off of drop, especially if you're one of our top 4, I think almost top 7, we're orbiting the same relative like 10 to 12 point difference between all of those teams. I think 42 is our first, 27th would be our 7th place team there, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously pretty close gap, all things considered, and 9 separating first and second place. It looks like we are getting word from production that they are sending a new code out to the tournament participants again. Awesome. CGL was able to get true private servers for this, so that's going to be super, super important here, so we don't have to get the kind of traditional Apex kill race style format going on. We have a true GLL Apex style tournament in our hands, and it's a really good feeling.
It is. Yeah, not a lot of people can get these, so it's just a super amazing experience to just, I mean, like you said earlier, kill race formats are fun and exciting and stuff, but it's a lot more interesting, I feel, to watch these pro players really combine and fight for their spot in these top 10, top 5 in this tournament, for their slice of a huge prize pool of this $500 for both regions. That, I mean, you could buy some sweet controllers and stuff with that, and get some upgrades on gear.
Absolutely. I mean, a Scuff Prestige is definitely not an inexpensive thing to own. I was originally a man of the Elite controller, and unfortunately, the hardware quality of the Elite controllers is found to be a little bit lacking. A lot of bumper problems, a lot of button issues, and so I've moved on to different controllers. And it's very important to note that hardware, even for a console, is incredibly, incredibly expensive in 2021. So you're looking at the Razer Wolverine, couple $100. You're looking at Scuff, right? You're looking at maybe an Elite if you're willing to give it a shot after my little bit of backsass at him. I mean, that's a couple $100 just for a controller alone.
Yeah, not to hate on your Elite, but I use an Elite right now. Yeah, I use an Elite Series 1, but yeah, it is not cheap, whether you're
I love the Series 1.
Yeah. Whether you're getting like a TV or something, whether you're saving up for anything, it's just so this will help out the players a lot, and the winning team will deserve it. So we are getting everybody back in after the crazy server crash, because technology is just great, isn't it?
It certainly is. And now, correct me if I'm wrong again, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the tournament, but to kind of preface some of the viewers that may be coming in towards the tail end, of course, this is usually when the intense action starts, at least when the highest tier of competitive action tends to start here, whether it's fast or slow is up to the viewing demographic we have right here. But correct me if I'm wrong, I believe yesterday, groupings of teams competed for the top 20 slots in an arena format to actually earn their spot here in the top 20 in our Battle Royale private lobby. Now, again, there is both an EU EU and an NA version of this. So not only is there a prize pool for the EU groupings of teams, there is also later tonight going to be a prize pool grouping for the NA part of the teams here. So we're only seeing half the battle. And correct me again, I believe CGL is doing a portion of the broadcast for that later tonight.
Yeah, it'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what conversion other because I only know
I think
Eastern
that's
Standard Time,
four
but
Pacific.
or Pacific, yeah. But that will be NA, and it should be a lot of fun. But like you said, yeah, these teams didn't just walk in off the street. They're not just some random team. They have fought super hard had to fight through other teams to get here. So each one of them do deserve this spot, but who will be in this top five that really deserve that title of being the CGO June Major champions?
That's a very tough question, but I think we've got a couple teams that we've already seen on our point board. I was looking over at my scoreboard on my right hand side here to try to peek that through. I would love to see our team Bocek Republic, that I think is going to be
Yeah,
our seventh place team here. They had such a clutch game in game number one that we did have to reset the unofficial game number one that we were forced to
yeah,
reset, and I would love to see them kind of come swinging from behind. I would love to see almost a return from redemption story for our Bocek
yeah.
Republic, to see them at least crowned in our top three here. But I did notice a lot of the teams, we're seeing a pretty consistent meta throughout these top couple of teams here. We have swapped out a couple of Valkyries for Octanes and vice versa. Do you think we're going to see, do you think we're going to see more Valks or more Octanes, given that they're probably going to play for position more in the match number four?
It's hard because we know a lot of teams are gonna play for a position, but we said, like, the number one team is still 9 points ahead. So if you're trying to take them out, like, Octane is one of the easiest tools to get into a fight so quickly. So I think we'll see more Valkyrie in the end. Maybe we'll see our Pathfinder again.
Yeah.
There's a chance. 3 games in a row, maybe. that we'll see that. But I think we will end up seeing more Valkyrie in the end. But I think it might be split, so we'll have to see.
Okay. I haven't seen too many teams abusing the ultimate height barrier as well. You see that a lot with a lot of fragment endings or fragment zone fours and fragment zone fives, where people will land on ultimate height, right? You land on the skyscrapers that are still there, and you kind of just get to wait out a zone.
Mhm.
For 20 some seconds while other teams fight, and then you can force fall off of the building. You'll see a Gibby dome grief, or you see a couple frag grenades go down as well. And so, that's such a tough point of contention with a lot of even the European pros, the NA pros as well. Those are big, big, big kind of points of contention for some of those players, especially given that Valk is so new. There's
Mhm.
still not really a dedicated playstyle to playing Valk. We see a lot of the flutter strafing, the tap strafing in
Mhm.
the air. We're able to hover strafe and things like that, which I think is far easier to do on a controller and far easier to master on mouse and key. So I think there's a very big skill gap between some of the ways that those characters can be played still.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me sometimes in ranked where you just see like a Gibby bubble just like fall from the sky and you're like, wait, where'd that come from? And then you just
Hmm.
see like members dropping down left and right. So it's a little bit stressful, but yeah, Volk is very new, and I think she does favor those mouse and keyboard players that are a little bit easier ability to maneuver on her and learn on her. But we will see if any team maybe tries. I don't know if we've actually had like a wall where they could land for ultimate height yet, because most of the final circles have been in like open field stuff like that. So we'll see if we'll actually get a ring where it's possible, or if any of these teams actually end up using it.
Yeah, let's see if we're trying to rig the CGL June Major here to give us a Fragment West close here. Get a little skyscraper ending near the market, maybe a little crashed roadway near the Zip building. I would absolutely love a city center finish there. I think that those happen to be the most epic, and a cityscape map would actually be something that I would be hoping for. I've been petitioning for an overgrown city, a little bit of a jungle city almost, but we will see. I think there's a lot of opportunity for Apex to grow in a lot of regards. And I think there's also a lot of opportunity for some change up fights as well. As this meta is going to evolve, new characters get introduced, right? Different locations are going to play very, very differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should just tell all the players no one fights, everyone goes into fragment, and we wait till final ring to decide it all.
That's right. Man, what I would give, or what I wouldn't give rather, to see a boxing match to close out the
Oh
final one.
yeah.
Imagine we take a 3v1. I think we've all seen the Daltouche clips of him 3v1ing in
Mhm.
arena, and some of the cute content creator clips of these players honorably taking 1v1s at any point given. Production did just give us a ping, though. They are waiting for just a couple more teams to get back into the lobby. It looks like with the server crashes in EU that they were needing to stabilize for a couple of teams, and some players did get kicked offline as well. In relation to that lovely code net, that code Leaf, we've all seen it before. We've all been lobbied before. All the viewers in the chat know exactly how Apex has gone. So I just wanted to let everyone in the chat know that we are getting an ETA on the teams getting in as we head into our final match number 4 of the CGL June Major.
Yeah, that's just the worst feeling is like you don't know if it's like your disconnect. So you just get like a code net and it's just like you're like, well, our team just lost, so we're just out of the thing, but then you realize that everybody else is out. So it's kind of mixed feelings, but like you said, wouldn't be an Apex tournament without Apex server issues.
That's exactly right. And if the pro players can handle it, all of us here at CGL can as well, of course. I am impressed, honestly, that we have not seen many character bugs, though. I haven't seen Gibraltar gun skill bugs. I have not yet necessarily seen any of the Valkyrie clipping through the bottom of the map bugs. There's honestly been a lot more quality gameplay than I had expected, and we haven't heard many audio issues as well. That doesn't traditionally seem to be happening.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. I think Apex was working really, really hard this past season to just clean everything up. So I feel like there's not as many audio bugs. Like the Revenant one I was talking about is gone. I feel like they've cleaned up Valkyrie a little bit more with this mid-season patch. And it looks like actually we will be finally getting into our actual game number 4 here. The final, the one for the championship, the money, the title, the everything. So we will see as we're getting into Legend Select what they are going to choose. Looks like Carnage select that Pathfinder there. So we will 3 games in a row get that Pathfinder. Let's go. We love to see it.
You do love to see that.
The sweet slides and everything. So we are ready, loading in on to game number 4, June Majors, CGL, everyone. This is it for the final. Money, everything. And here we go, dropping on in. Technically game number 6. And here we go.
The casters just rigged it for you. We all knew that you guys wanted to see a couple extra games, so we made sure game number 1 and game number 6, even the teams were on it. They were all in on it, so they knew what was going on. We were farming for views. We were farming for videos here. Yeah. But we are going to see a couple more players land both sides of Fragment comparatively to what we expected. It looks like we are going to have a 2-player stack land at the market there, and we're going to see a couple players land at the streamer building. We do see one landing at what used to be the center of Fragment as well before the ravine split here. So again, you do see that building that we were referring to, that skyscraper that is crashed on your right hand side. That is often a place that players land for ultimate height with that Valkyrie ult or off of the redeploys here. But we are going to have a solo player able to loot this entire zip building for himself here, or for themselves there. Nice. And that's going to be very, very important.
Yeah, that's usually a hot spot too. Usually in pubs, that's a fight for your life spot too, where like one team gets each level and you just hope for the best and hope you get armor and guns and stuff, but you don't really want to land 6 in a building in a tournament.
You certainly do not, and that's going to refer to that 50-50 that we've been using as terminology throughout this tournament here, and that's just going to imply the idea that players are going to be landing on top of each other, and you really have a 50-50 chance of winning. I mean, if you're the Gibraltar that gets purple armor and a Mastiff off rip, congratulations. If you're the Bloodhound on the other end of it, sucks to be you.
Yeah, I've been on both sides, but yeah, it's always gets your blood pumping a little bit. But we will see the thermal team. Shout out to them going for the thermal spot, but it won't be a thermal ring, so they're gonna have to rotate out of that there eventually. R301 with a 2x4, interesting. That will be Valor Esports chilling a little bit over here in the thermal as you're getting ready. 16 squads left already. I believe maybe we missed some people here, or there's a lot of kills already happening. Maybe some people trying to get rid of that top team. And I don't know if we'll see more fighting along the way, or if it's just going to be way more focused on positioning. We'll have to see what these teams go toward.
Yeah, it does look like this Valor Esports roster here. Again, this Apocalypto is that player we saw, I believe, close out game number 2 in second place and move Valor Esports up to first place for one match in the series here. But again, this is obviously a very capable team. We have the gold mag in the hands of an Octane here with a 2x4. So I'm not necessarily sure about the scope choice there, but I would potentially like to see, I believe Apocalypto may have been that Gibraltar that we had seen on and off with that Bruiser on the charge rifle, trying to abuse that at different varying points here. But we're going to be on board with the BB-88 Pathfinder Pathfinder skin. I believe this is Flip Floop Flop or whatever his gamer tag was, and I was close. It's Flip Flop Plop. Excuse me here. So we're going to have this Pathfinder here. It looks like he is going to be using an Eva and an R301 here. So again, a man of the meta culture, a meta slave, but not in term of the character there. We love to see that Pathfinder, but we're going to be on a little bit more of a classic comp team now with Team MKS running that Wraith Gibraltar Bloodhound. Now this is a team that was able to win huge fights early, but it looks like they're headed to a third party here as we have 2 players of Valor Esports in the most important match of the series down. I would like to see this Bloodhound cover with a shield and cover his teammates there, but it doesn't look like he's opting to go ahead and do that.
I think they squad wiped there. So I believe they end up killing that team there, and they will get everybody back up. But MKS pushing here at this Val team, and will they be able to kill them? This is a third party, but they did get padded out, so we don't know if they'll be able to get out. Gonna chase here as the Wraith.
It's a big aggressive push given this Wraith. She's going to be able to get out her portal there, so that obviously that movement right there, excuse me, on her portal, her Q, and she's going to be able to push to her Gibby's bubble here. But she leaves her Bloodhound kind of down behind enemy lines. A 3-time scope on a Spitfire from the steadiest Gibraltar in the game. TSM reps channeling right there. That man was the man with the plan. We are going to be able to get this Gibraltar res here. I would like to see the armor drop here. Now, this is what we didn't see from that roster previously from Team Valor. They were not assisting their downed players, and unfortunately, they were wiped in relation to it.
Yeah, and a huge fight from MKS. Valor, one of the top teams here, eliminated. So you got to be paying attention to that. If you're one of the top teams and you know one of another of the top teams got eliminated, you're pushing even harder because you know you have an even better chance now. We're gonna get a first look at this ring. Going to be Epicenter, it looks like. All Epicenter, and probably the circular height is where it most likely will end. We will see where it goes from there.
I do like to see definitely an Epicenter fight. Anything that rotates kind of in and around Fragment. Again, as I said, I really like the Cityscape fights here. We do see a very quick, easy cleanup. We see only the Gibraltar with the gold shield here with a little bit of damage on him. Now, Gibraltar with the gold shield's an odd one because you want that Gibby who's able to tank damage to be able to dish damage and farm a shield up as well. But on the other hand, having that mass of an arm shield and having that Gibraltar be able to dome, he's very, very difficult to kill given that gold shield as well. So there's a couple ways you can play Gibby right there. We do see Mega Tutty, though. This is going to be one of the players, if I'm not mistaken, on Bocek Gaming, and it looks like he's narrowly going to survive. It looks like he's trying to get out of Spitfire and R301 range in his Bloodhound ult. So there is not a lot of opportunity for him to get many points unless he's able to grab those banners here, but he has a lot of teams on his heels.
Yeah, so we see just trying to run away. They got the team names are a little bit messed up. We're sorry about that, but you know, we're memeing here, and we got the Pathfinder in our game, a good Gibby bub to get the loot protected, and we will see this squad of LOL. Big, huge. I've heard about them. They're pretty good in this in this scene. They're one of the best. So LOL is they're gonna keep on pushing on here with the Gibby.
No, I believe if, unless I'm mistaken, correct me here, I believe the LOL roster team name here is actually going to be Grandpa and Family, if I'm not mistaken. This should be Smurfer, Neuro, and Ren as well. So definitely a lot of creative team names. I think teams are definitely admittedly frustrated here, but it would not be an Apex event if Respawn servers did not crash. And unfortunately, we are using that private server, but the Beamerson is coming out to hit this Gibraltar. He may be forced to bubble here. We do see another player with shields down as well. That's going to be Mega Tutty, though. This is going to be our solo Bloodhound trying to stay alive, and it looks like he is going to be kind of down behind enemy lines here. You see him hiding, I think, on the care pack there, and they are going to try to push for the ape here. They may not see him. They do eventually, but that is going to leave FTL shields down, but he is able to swap right into that purple and is awarded a free kill and an armor swap for his effort.
And LOL showing that they are literally the most lol team in the lobby, taking out another person at the care package, and they will keep on going. Decent shields, blue, purple so far. 12 squads left already, so we're already almost through round 1, and 12 squads left will leave a lot of people dead, which is, I think a lot of teams are playing aggressive, trying to take out this team we are looking at right here. RCM, our #1 team at the moment, 9 points ahead. They are still alive, top 12. I don't think anybody has really spotted them out yet, so no real danger to them.
Yeah, and with this many teams dead, also your rotations are going to be a lot easier, right? You're not going to necessarily need to use your Valkyl. You can save your Octane bounce pad for inting into a
Yeah.
fight as opposed to inting or backing up out of a fight here. So there's a lot more versatility and movement that can be executed by these teams, given how few other teams are still alive here. So whether that's at the detriment of some teams because they need to be able to get points to close this gap here, or whether it's RCM and they just need to make sure they kind of get a top 5 placement, grab a kill or two here, and they ride off into the sunset with their portion of the paycheck.
Yeah, and you just don't want to make a mistake. I mean, you might be thinking that you need. I mean, you do need. You probably need some kill points just because you don't want to rely solely on. Because they are far from ring here. They aren't in a really great position, and it is an epicenter ring. So all the people that are holding it now are most likely going to be holding it till end game. So you do maybe want a little bit of kill points here, but you don't want to risk your own life. If any fight is too risky, you don't want to take it. You have the Octane, you have the tools to get out of there, and you shouldn't fight it, honestly. But every team you eliminate is a team that is not going to fight you in the final ring. So we'll see where they choose as they rotate into this more epicenter, top right area ring.
And it does look like they are going to try to rotate towards the beacon building now again. I mean, they didn't make it. They weren't that far from the zone here. We do see another full 3-man roster, though, towards Skyhook there, interestingly enough, rotating around through the tunnel. Onto the train tracks there as well, kind of out in towards that no man's land, towards that respawn beacon. This may come into play. They may end up rotating down through the tunnel here, but we actually see a Revenant Rampart here actually set up. So we had talked about the meme teams that we'd seen previously. You never know if this meme team is actually going to be able to pop off, because Rampart's a very frustrating character to fight against in specific instances. I don't think particularly skillful or often very useful, but there are occasional opportunities for Rampart to pop off, and although that team's griefing, you never know what team they're going to end up griefing against.
Yeah. And the thing about Rampart is if you get set up early, it depends whether you are already set up or you need to get set up. If you're already set up and you have your walls up, it's so beneficial. You can put boosted shots. If you don't know what Rampart does, she puts up these nice walls that give you boosted shots that do more damage. They have a glass part on top and a metal part on bottom. The glass part is easier to break, and if you break the glass part, they still have cover there. But when the Rampart is building the wall, it has 40 health, and you can destroy it pretty easily. So if you're not set up, you're trying to set up Rampart walls, it doesn't work. But if you're already set up, you can lay down so much heavy fire that it takes a lot of damage.
Absolutely, and I think that is part of Rampart's kit issue. I think there's not really necessarily a way to balance Rampart as a character, because if you make the walls too strong, Rampart can just be a walking fortress, kind of a pseudo Gibraltar. And then on the other hand, if you make Rampart do more damage as well, you kind of just have a walking artillery that you can kind of keep and redeploy. So there needs to be some kind of form of way to balance here. But I do really not like this Gibby ult here from this opposing team. I believe it's going to be Grandpa and family. I think that the Gibraltar bubble was able to cover that almost in its entirety, and they were forced to do a double bubble here. We are going to see the Prowler in burst fire, I believe in the hands of a controller player. So that's going to be absolutely massive. We do see the Valkyrie fall. That is going to be a team wipe. Lowell was able to get a good series of kills right there. And it looks like that's going to be on OS Gaming as well, taking another team out of the running, pushing them further towards this top 10. We are now back to our 11 squads here, and that's going to be quite a few kill points for Grandpa and family.
Oh yeah, they're doing good. It was a wasted Gibby ult, I believe, but it ends up the Prowler honestly wins them the fight there. They do have another team looking on them at high ground, easy shots on them right now, and they're gonna push a little bit further. But this team does have to be careful. A little bit low on shields after that fight. Just gotta get up quick. They are good for now. I believe they might be out of ring. They're gonna pad out though. They should be good. Team LOL, formerly a different team. We will are gonna pad out and get out, and like you said, a lot of kill points for them in this game right now. It's showing.
I'm curious to see where the zone pulls, and I think you're right. It is going to be epicenter. We might be getting lucky based on where that goes. We'll see if production is going to be able to go ahead and pull up that map for us in the interval right here as we swap through some of these POVs here. Would like to be able to take a peek at that map given any opportunity, but it looks like there is going to be a team setting up on the top of the epicenter, potentially towards that beacon. Now, whether or not they've got a Gibraltar on that team that they can go ahead and use that with, but great scout shots out of that player, and it does look like we're going to get towards fragment, but not necessarily in it here. We do see that respawn beacon in play. This is going to be towards the train tracks here. This may even end up being the zone. We see that often towards the tracks between Survey Camp and the tracks over there on the left-hand side of your screen is often a zone that we get here around Survey Camp. So this could definitely be important here, but we are going to be on board with the Bloodhound from Team RCM, our current first-place team here, with a couple kills already on board. We're swapping POVs, still on the same team. This is going to be I Am Jesus, the Octane, with the Spitfire. Talk about a meta slave here, but that is a deadly combo.
What a 100 nade. They could have used the pad to get out, but they want this fight. They really want to fight this fight. They could have had it out, but they're gonna stay. 100 on a nade. Will they decide to push off that? Oh, there. No sight on it right now. They're just gonna Bloodhound in ult. So constant info being given to the team of RCM. If they go down in this fight though, or I mean any kills in the feed, everyone's gonna know they're there. So all these guys got Spitfires, so abusing it a little bit. But see what happens with this fight, as it is a long and very drawn out one here.
This is a tough call for me on the Spitfire, because on one hand, if you can't beat him, join him, and on the other hand, you're perpetuating the problem, continuing to use the Spitfire, right? So you're a little bit evil. I think your ends might not justify the means, but there is a paycheck on the line courtesy of CGL, so I definitely do not blame this team. But this could be a huge opportunity to farm damage, but we see the red shield already on this Gibraltar. That's going to be massive if they're able to get this knock, and potentially this thirst here as well, even if they only take down one player. But that player is going to go down against that Gibraltar. I believe he was able to get a heal off right here in our first place seeded team. RCM may not be able to make it through this. That is going to be Carlito, if I'm not mistaken, able to potentially get that res on that Octane. We are going for the thirst on that Gibraltar right there, of course, one of the most important members of the team, but that Prowler coming into play as well. Bloodhound's gonna fall. Carlitos, the only player of RCM. This is gonna be a 1v1, and that gold shield may end up being the deciding factor here.
Did they get a gold res off? I think they did. I think it's 2v1 now.
They did.
RCM's in so much trouble. He just has to get out. He just has to play him now. And this is bad. You're a Gibby. You're not fast. And RCM, wow, the gold res on the enemy team. They are going to be in a lot of trouble here. They most likely won't be able to get any of that kills off that fight. They will get the res, and just crazy, insane. And the Goblins actually pushed behind, I think, him. So RCM just trying. It's him. His back is to ring. This is so bad for him. RCM could be going down here. Our #1 team. Carlito in ring. Ace though, gonna take some damage here with the Rampart that we saw earlier. He's gonna give up himself.
Wow, and it looks like he is narrowly flirting with death right there, but Ace was able to pick up the kill on that. Unfortunately, he was not able to grief. He may have made it into top 10. We are top 9. He may have been that 10th squad, though, so we may see an opportunity for them to have eked out just a couple of points, trying to make sure they further their agenda to be that first-place team.
Yeah, but as we see that, we can't talk about them anymore. Honestly, LOL, the team that is taking this game by storm. The Gibby ult is perfect. The Gibby bubble already went down. No Gibby bubble to defend them, and they're going to get them. This is going to be huge, giant damage, 80s, 40s, and the free kills are going to come through with the R301 as he looks. Blue shields are easily taken down, and LOL just easily rolling through this right now. They're getting to the last members of it. The Gibby is going to be alone. It's going to get a little bit beat up by the punches, and a bleed out comes. Grandpa and family. LOL now huge, giant kill points. They are putting themselves in such a good position to win this game right now.
Yeah, melees and bubble fights on edge are absolutely important. We saw one of those crazy plays with Snipe Down getting respawned and ending up Bloodhound heirlooming, I believe, 2 or 3 players into the zone in match number 2 of the GLLs, if I'm not mistaken. And you can even see, you don't get that much damage, it's 30 damage a hit, but the ricochet effect on players, you can pop them in and out of bubbles into their own ultimate. So that was actually a really great play from that Wraith. I liked the idea that we were going for there. Plus, their execution was already safe. To go ahead and go for that melee there and force that Gibraltar out of the bubble here. We do see a team pretty set up, though. This is one of the things you and I had talked about seeing, and that we had expected to see a lot of teams stacking up in different layers of verticality here in this event, because the chance or the necessity to fight a team on height or to fight a team below you is almost nil. We are going to go for the bubble fight here. The Caustic ult is going to play the bubble as well. This is a big fight. You've got a lot of tanky boys taking engagements here, but this Gibraltar taking very, very little damage in this bubble fight here. They're pushing this Gibraltar in, but unfortunately now Gibby v Gibby, the opposing Gibby is left with a little bit more health, and we're going to have to be back down. We're going to have to go ahead and get a heal.
This is a fight that you don't need. You don't need this place inside. You can just sit outside. Even if you're a Caustic, it'd be good to have that area inside. But MKS can dip out a little bit, and Gibby gonna take a lot of damage here, so have to be careful. They have no doors here. That is also important to note. They have no real defense other than a Gibby bubble or a Wraith portal. And Resinero here. One member down. That is their Gibby. They still have the Caustic. Will they be able to get the res? As the ring closes, it is full epicenter and only 6 squads left. Squads that are here, if they're in the top 5, have a real chance because RCM is now out of the tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of important kills going on. That is OS Gaming in the background. We see Galifora able to pick up a kill onto one of the players. I believe that is going to be Rojo and his team. That Gibraltar is going to be thirsted. Now, I would have liked to see a trap or two thrown on the Gibraltar and pop the smoke there in order to blind the players and maybe give your Gibraltar an opportunity obscured to crawl through. We also have this Octane pad, and we could have padded our Gibraltar over towards us, but we're going to be back on board with MKS, the team that was able to successfully defend the inside of the tower here. We see a lot of teams orbiting the ridge here, but it's exactly as you and I had guessed. We were going to see that epicenter and that place kind of between the tracks there and epicenter becoming the final zone here, but you are going to have an arm of the tower to successfully hide under, potentially to protect you from a Gibraltar bombardment here. So there's a lot of positioning still to be done here on this right-hand arm of the tower.
Yeah, so like I said, 6 squads, and it's going to be a bloodbath after this one. The height, like you said earlier, like you've been saying all tournament, the open fields are where Apex likes to take these rings. So it's going to go to this open field, and we have 6 squads left, and it's going to be Amos's Sons. Have decent shields. Blue, not the best for the Octane, but they're going to be pushing behind on their team, and they're going to get really good shots here. Smurf are going to go down, and Roki Apex also going to go down. Huge Arc Star that could get some kills. This is just free KP that they need a 125. That's going to be nuts, and it looks like he's just going to die. Gibby down, 5 squads left here. Amos's Sons in a good spot.
That was a great spot, and that 125 arc star we got, I believe that was Analox, the Wraith here in our POV. I was a little bit nervous about that Wraith pushing up there because that Wraith wasn't even in full shields, but obviously that Wraith was certainly doing better than I would do in that given environment there, able to push aggressively and just knew that that was the right time to challenge. We saw 7 hostiles scanned here, of course, although that is a big number. That is kind of something we expect to see here at this point in the tournament, and this is a great place for this team to be able to set up. We have the Prowler for our close combat. We have an overhang to deny some form of aerial combat, and on the other hand, grenades with all of us stuck in that spot are going to be very, very important if a team's been able to carry those at this point into the tournament. Bloodhound with an ult on deck. Very beautiful shots coming in from the vault, but we do need to stay alive, so we do force the bubble here. Again, we've probably got about 30 to 40 seconds here, and that Wraith, we may be seeing our Kidnap going in, unless that player is trying to portal forward. You saw the flame grenade deployed. The Kidnap does not come in, and that is just going to be a repositioning, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're in a really bad spot actually right now. They don't have the pods anymore, and they're going to be pushing into a full team right now. Oh, but good hipfire shots. A good Mastiff shot, another Mastiff shot, and almost gets it, but does not. Patsy and the squad will kill them. We are down to 4 squads here. There is a Kraber in play. Kraber did kill someone. OS Academy, all lost on shield, getting hit a lot by another team over here. We don't know all our other teams in the ring right now, but 11 are left, and they are just getting beamed. They cannot get out of this, and OS Academy going to be in a lot of trouble as the Kraber comes through, and another is down. OS, last member left. Will the Wraith be able to get out? No, she will not. It will be down to 3 squads, down to 8. Here we go. This is it for the win. Aim assist, Sons as the one team, dropping shields, swaps, getting ready for this final ring here. As they're getting beamed out, though.
This is our team Razan Nero that I was not particularly impressed with earlier based on some Valkyrie play, but it looks like swapping from Valkyrie to Caustic here has been enabling them to get just a couple kills here and also get a fair amount of placement points. On the opposing sides, we have 2 other teams here. I'm not entirely sure what the teams that we have are, but it looks like it is going to be Elysium. Wow. So our 4th place team that has taken potentially over RCS in the standings here, as they were not that far off. I believe it was a 9-point discrepancy between these players here. So this is definitely an opportunity.
So this is huge. This is huge. R9 shots already. But they don't want to throw 2 teams. Oh, they are in a bad spot though.
Wow.
Oh no. The red shield's already down. Elysium in trouble. The Gibby Bub comes out. Octane needs to get this heal off. The Evas will come down. It's 2 squads left. This is it. Elysium with some good kills. Oh, and a huge ult. Huge Spitfire shots.
Wow.
Can they do it? Elysium going. Gibby Spitfire. Got one member left, I believe. That's it. One more. Will they finish him off? He's got the Spitfire going for it. All 3 in 1, and Elysium is your game 4 champion, and maybe they just won the whole thing. It's very possible.
That is a difficult call to make, and we do have obviously a great team of statisticians here on board here at CGL to be able to tell us that as we head into our post game from our game number 4, theoretically our game number 6 at the CGL June Major. But that was a monster showing out of Team Elysium, and honestly, a lot of teams that you and I had been questioning whether or not they were able to move forward and build up some of that point discrepancy here. For instance, that team that got second place with the Caustic,
Mhm.
honestly, they were griefing. They denied quite a few points and quite a few placement points as well to a couple of the other teams. So that may be very important on this leaderboard.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I didn't even see Grandpa and family go down at all, but it looks like I believe maybe top 7, top 8. So we'll have to see because Elysium put in a really good game. They take first and they took a lot of kills there at the end. But I don't know if maybe Grandpa and family put in enough kills in that whole game to jump themselves ahead. And we'll have to see who our winner is. And our first place team going out early, it's going to be a toss up here.
That is a good question. We also saw your aim assist boys, one of them channeling, of course, your inner Resulta right there with that scout and shotgun combo once again. I know you are very interested in that particular player. We're going to have a couple replays run while we let the
Oh,
stat folks go ahead and build things up here. This was a very big fight. This was our RCM loss here, where we saw our gold shield to Gibraltar not be able to make it out of this engagement here. He was forced to run into the city.
yeah.
This will also potentially tell us whether or not they made it into that top 10. This may cut to that exact moment when that Gibraltar goes down and gets cleaned up. So we may be able to feel out whether they got any placement points.
So the interesting thing, we never saw, but I think the enemy team just had a gold res. So I think that was what, like, yeah, it was actually. So we see it there that they get a gold res off, and it just changes the whole entire fight. The Bloodhound goes down to a Prowler, and here is the Gibby, I believe. No, it's earlier, but so we won't see if he makes top 10 or not. But that is they do make it top 6, as you see right there. Grandpa and family. So is that enough? We don't know yet. Here it is, Amos's Sons just putting in work on this other team, and as the Gibby ports back, can't really do much there. And
Mm-hmm.
MKS just in a rough spot. They had teams all around them, no real cover. And that's how it happens sometimes. Had some awesome Mastiff shots and stuff, but ends up not being enough, dying to that squad there. And we see just a crazy, crazy finale here. As Elysium, I believe, takes down both teams here. As, yeah, Elysium going to Eva the one team to death and then just turn. The Gibby already hit the other team super hard, and the Spitfires just come out, takes the one down, and they all just rush 3v1. Not really much you can do, and Elysium is your game 4 champion right there.
You know, and that was a huge amount of kill points, as you had said. It looked like they wiped the majority of that first team there and then completely wiped the second team regardless. So at worst, that was five, or excuse me, at worst, that was 4 points, and at best, that was five on top of a first place victory. If I'm not mistaken, that alone should have been 17 points, 12 plus the
Oh yeah.
five kills that they got in that example alone. It does look like production is actually working on a scoreboard for us here, so we should be able to get you some results pretty quickly, some resultas for you here very quickly here. And man, I'm so impressed. And on the other hand, I'm a little frustrated. I think our third place team had an opportunity to res that Gibraltar there, and I think that absolutely could have impacted how they played in the late game.
Yeah.
But I think coupled with that Valkyrie meta switch, I think they didn't perform as well as they could have in the Dorito in match number 2. And I think that they may have had a little bit of nerves kind of shaking him up, unfortunately. And I think that may have been one of the things serving to the detriment of that team, that third place team.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty crazy. I mean it's hard to stay consistent when you're one of the top teams, and obviously like you think coming in, like we said, it was going to be 4 games. It ends up being uh 5.5 or 6 games, and you're just trying to get on to the next one, and you're like, can I hold this lead? Can I keep holding this lead? And sometimes that's too much for some people.
That's exactly right. And guys, we got to give a shout out to the courtesy of the replays that we've had all throughout the tournament. Of course, we've got a nice paycheck to hand out to some players that we'll know here very shortly, courtesy of CGL as well. We've got our observers. We've got a lot of players in the background. We have Science, we have Lawrence, we have Shiro, we've got Grissom in the background. We've got quite a few folks working behind CGL to give me and Llama the platform and the opportunity to not only host this tournament, but to get to be behind the desk. And there are some lovely folks, obviously, behind the sticks as well. We have 20 great teams that made it into this tournament, fought their ways through the arena in some previous events here in the last couple days. And we have a North America version of exactly what you saw here just moments ago. Llama, tell us a little bit about what we're going to be getting in the North American version.
So I've been cast in North America. I've been through their practices, and it is going to be a lot of aggression tonight. Come back 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe you said 4 p.m. Pacific
Mm-hmm.
time, and NA is an aggressive region. There's a lot of Revenant Octane combos, and as we say that,
Wow.
here it is. the leaderboard, your final leaderboard for the June Major, and congrats to Elysium, your June Major Apex Legends CGL champions. Congrats to them. RCM holding on at second with 47, and Grandpa and Family just getting edged out third at 46. Wow.
That was unbelievable. I'm a little bummed our Bocek boys didn't break that
Mhm.
top 5 threshold. I have a lot of love for that funny, unorthodox play of that Bloodhound making it all the way across in our practice opening game. But Valor Esport also performing very strong initially. Carnage as well. We saw a lot of clutch plays out of ADZ from Carnage there. So it just goes to show that sometimes when you have a clutch player or individual clutch plays, it doesn't necessarily mean things moving forward here, because obviously you said it earlier on in the tournament that consistency is key. And that's
Yep.
what we kept seeing out of Elysium. I think they had one poor game, and that was going to be their first initial game.
Yeah, it was very well done, and you got to give it to them. They are walking home with some sweet cash and some amazing, awesome stuff, and they worked for it. They worked super hard. A great series dealing with all the issues. And again, we are sorry. Like, just issues happen. Service issues happen and some other issues. And thank you for everyone bearing with us. And again, huge congratulations to Elysium, our first place finisher, and RCM, our second place finisher. That'll be super awesome. But like we said, NA will be tonight. It's going to be super aggressive. Another $250 up for grabs. A lot of the players I love in there. So you better come back. Check it out. It's going to be super awesome. And it'll be on this channel. So
Llama, thank you very much for having me, and CGL, of course, for all the producers behind the desk. We have to give a thanks to the players behind the sticks. Once again, that's going to be Science, Lauren, Shiro, and Grism, I believe, are going to be the folks behind the CGL desk making this happen for me and Llama. And of course, a shout out and a thank you to all the teams that fought throughout the CGL Arena tournament to end up getting here, and the top 20 teams as well. Congratulations again to our team Elysium for being crowned the CGL June Major Console Gaming League champions. For now, I'm Dragonite. This is my partner Llama, and we'll be signing off.